were fighting, in effect, to realize an independent state of Tigray, but for so many reasons, that was possible in a situation which is far worse than anyone could have expected. So, to the question, Tigray Independence Party, or WUNAT, was a party aimed at realizing an independent state of Tigray, without any ideological leanings, and we did it consciously because we thought a country comes for everyone. So people may have different ideological dispositions, but we thought that shouldn't matter. So all Tigrayans were called upon to join the party and realize an independent state of Tigray. So ideology was not an issue at that time for our party. What we were envisioning was kind of, as I said earlier, a referendum-based independent state of Tigray. So parallel kind of lay down the basic institutions, major political institutions that are as such that are not kind of ideology driven. We have what we call basic institutions of a country. So we were hoping those things can be done without any ideological predilections. But later, after almost 2 years, we kind of agreed that we need a party ideology. And that ideology picked at the level of the top leadership, the so-called executive committee, and the committee at the General Assembly to do almost all the party things that need to be done. So the ideology we picked, termed liberal nationalism. So in this ideology, we are in Tigray, which will be led by a continuous process of modernizing the nation. That's why we are picking nationalism. So nationalism hopes to develop those values we have as a nation, which are good, and our party envisions kind of correcting those that are not helpful in our value systems as a nation. So the ideology has nationalism as its main component, with the hope of developing policies that aim at kind of promoting and developing the values we have as a nation, and trimming and correcting those values that may not be helpful in our quest for modernization as a nation. We also hope Tigray will be better if it is governed along liberal values and principles. So by liberalism, we are kind of calling for a nation where those liberal values are respected and cherished, like rule of law, democratic institutions, free, fair, and regular elections. All those liberal values shall be cherished and respected. Not only that, we also pick liberalism because we want our people to be free of all the coercions that are imposed upon them in the name of ill-conceived developmental state, ill-conceived revolutionary democracy. If politics is to be pursued in Tigray, it is based on its ideological leaning, will be leadership. We are calling for private ownership of land, private and exports. So overall, for about 2 years now, no, for about a year and some months now, sorry, TIP is a part of its ideology, and its ideology is liberal nationalism. A point of caution here is that for liberal national efforts to be done, and that is holding a general assembly and enabling the general assembly to this position as well. So I think this much will be enough as regards what TIP is. Coming to the current state of affairs, especially the question focused on the transitional government that's being established in Tigray. Last time I had an opportunity to brief regarding what we asked and what we got regarding this process. Getting back to it, what we asked was involvement in the process of establishing this government, not sharing in the offices that are going to be available in this government. Our prime need was to get involved in the process, and that process was spearheaded, as you might know, by a committee of 9 individuals. Those 9 individuals were 3 from TPLF, 3 from the army, and 3 from ostensibly the intelligentsia. I said ostensibly because the 3 representatives of the intelligentsia were not kind of represented by that community in a process that is amenable to it. Instead, they were kind of handpicked by the government of Tigray, as it is being named so far. So our reservation was this committee was basically a committee that reflects the will and aspirations of TPLF, but we want TPLF to be just one actor in the politics of Tigray. So our demand was that we all should be involved, and the intelligentsia should be represented by a process which is kind of a process which kind of receives the confidence of the intelligentsia. We were also anticipating the participation of other sections of the society, but the committee refused to entertain this question of ours, and they said they need to proceed. We didn't want to be an obstacle in the process of establishing the regional government. We just stated our demand, and that demand was not accepted. So that committee of 9 individuals proceeded, and they kind of undertook a conference that was kind of established based on the usual process of representing various sections of the society, which we feel is not a genuine way of representing the public. And after a regional interim administration is kind of being formed. That administration appears to have 28 offices. Of the 28 offices, 6 offices were allotted to the 3 opposition parties. 2 of the offices were allotted to us. The offices were namely the Bureau of Industry and the Bureau of Culture and Tourism. We at TIP declined to accept this offer because, as I said earlier, our most important demand was making TPLF just one actor in the politics of Tigray, not the only actor the way it has been for the past 30 years at least as a party that runs government. So unless we see progress regarding this main demand of ours, joining in the regional interim administration is not useful. So we decline that. So far, this is what I know. As the Pretoria Accord demands, I think the administration in Ethiopia should accept it. I think they are working on it. I don't have detailed information regarding this. So this is what I can say. Just to start the discussion, we can proceed all the way through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Girmay. Berhe, did you want to take it next? Berhe, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, I'll have the president or
whichever. If you have any comments, you can add, or any question where you want to kick it off with. If you have any questions, you can go ahead.
I think to save time, if there is any presentation that Girmay is ready to give us, we should go there. That we will have to go to the Q&A, so we can save time.
Salamina, yeah. So speaking of that, there's a video that we showed in the previous town hall meeting. I think that would be great because it surfaces what Girmay has been talking for a few minutes before. Do you have the link to that video available?
Sorry, I don't know which link. But quickly, just to remind everyone, kindly to remind for our fundraising efforts. If you have not yet donated, I encourage you all to generously support. The link to the fundraising is in the chat. Please share also with your friends and family while we continue our discussion. Sorry, is it in the chat so I can share it?
All right, give me a few minutes while you're working on the donations.
Sounds good. Meanwhile, I can go ahead and ask Girmay a question while we wait. That is from, yeah. Girmay, I don't know if you can hear us, but while we wait, I would. Oh, there you go. Sorry. Continue.
Hold it again. Go a minute.
Playing that.
It's Girmay. If you drop the link, I think you can send it to Salamina, please. Just give her the link and to open it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Link la halamo. Then
Okay.
the time share the double.
Okay.
He's still sharing your screen, by the way.
Allow me now. Check your WhatsApp.
Expand.
Alsana, Nafsam, ልዑላዊትን ሃገረ ትግራይ
Did you stop it? It was running good. Salam.
ፍል ልምዓትን ኩርዓትን ፍልፍል ናጽነትን ሓርነትን ትኸውን ሃገር ንምስራት ኢልና ኢና ናብዚ ግን ስኢልና ታሒድና ስጥራሕ ጭርሖ ናጽነት ስጭርሖ እንታጨራሕና ባንዴራ ሙሉላ ፍራሕትም ኣይኮንም
Keeping its identity, culture, history, values, politics. Something that is achieved up until today. So the prime force which pushes you into asking the state of Ethiopia is this: if we cannot secure what we want in Ethiopia, as our history shows, we have to start a new way. We have to think of a new mechanism of securing that. So when we delve into the history of Ethiopia, what goes? Ethiopia is a state with claims from Tigrayan values, from Tigrayan emblems, from Tigrayan culture, what have you, from Tigrayan civilization, and from Tigrayan system itself, state structure, state system, all of this emanates from Tigray.
نرسينا تقرأ أبيت نقرأنا حسب تلازم تقرأ هاجريا سم أكشن سم بلا خون ما نفسر بلا خون هاجريا تقرأ سبون دمس تلكم دمس بودي كاليس قولنا كاليس بعرف كاليس لوجستيك من حاجة تجهز الدياسبورا تغير كم دي دياسبورا وزاد فجأة نبرة خبير بتاعه تحجز كون خسائر والكانيا هذا مع الصراحة قارس كوالي خالها مالت وماستنكر تشوف بالك زول كل ما خد نواج كندي دم تخون ما باسرات وين نوراو تهم غورزلو دازي نقارس كونهم غورزلو تقرأ هاجر تخرجوا كله ربر أورات فرن تلك زول حتى فرن شو بسمي لبونو وخالو بنعرف تقدر جيري تقرأ هاجر تكون جيري تقرأ هاجر خموها وين حد زبطي تاسبا
ስለዚህ ኣብ ዕፁብ ገዛ ድምፅና ከይስማዕ ተገይሩ ምስ ህዝብና ከይንረኸብ ተገይሩ ምክንያት ህዝብና ወፅዓ ህዝብና ከይነቃልሕ ዝሓይሉ እዚ ግን ትግራይ ካብቱ ክሳብ ሕዚ ኣምፅኡላ ዘሎ ውርደት ንላዕሊ ዘእቱ ኣካይዳ ይኸይድ ከም ዘሎ ህዝቢ ክፈልጥ ይግባእ ብፍላይ ድማ ናፅነት ዘሎ ኣብነት ትግራይ ተግባራዊ ቃልሲ ክጅምር ይግባእ
እዚ ድቃስ ከለኒ ስለዚ ክፍታሕ ንካል ኮይኑ ሓውሲ ደውታ ዝመስል ኣጋጢሞ ኣሎ ቃልስና ክፍታሕ ንካል ኮይኑ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ናይ ዝቃልሲ እዚ በዓል ዋና ክኸውን ክኽእል ኣለዎ ኣብዚ ኣዛዚ ተኣዛዚ ብዛዕባ ወታደራዊ ኦፍኮርስ chain of command له جدا يعني اعتقد political قالس ግን በዓል ዋናን ወድ ወሰንን ወድ ገዛን ኮጽ ይخل كلها ናይ ነው ወላን خفن ዘለ ለብሶ ወቀት በዓል ዋና ሆኖ ሁሉ ይመን كل ናይ كل حسب طعامي ግመት ክኸለ አይፈታም
So these forces were active fighting within the Federation State. So as I told you, the history of modern Ethiopia today is a kind of alienation for us, or a history of fighting for the maintenance and survival of the Tigrayan identity and Tigrayanhood. So this has to stop. That's the main thing that we should consider. So this is about history up until present. So some people may argue, why don't we think of the future? Why don't we think of our vision? Forget history, put historian. That's a possible argument. But when we start to talk about a possible vision, we analyze the active political forces in this country. The activeness is relative, of course. So we try to analyze the Amhara elite. We try to analyze the Oromo elite, and of course, the Tigrayan elite. So in our assessment and understanding, when I say our as a party, the Tigrayan elite is after one thing: self-determination for Tigray. We're not ready to compromise on this.
So the key interest in Ethiopia is our self-determination. So if we are going to have a future in Ethiopia, the Ethiopia that should be around should be one which accommodates this vision of ours. An Ethiopia which maintains our self-determination, which allows our self-determination. And then we went to the Amhara elite. There is no change there. Still, the vocal elite, the elite which is visible, which is acting, is striving to take us back to the past.
Okay, I think that's it for the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, Salamina. I guess per the plan we had, the next is the Q&A. Then
yes,
we have 4 people raising their hand, but you had a question earlier. Maybe you start by asking that question.
awesome, sounds good. Hopefully Girmay still with us, listening. If you can confirm, if so, there are 2 questions, I guess, one from the audience.
He's here.
Okay, awesome. So Girmay, I guess this is from the audience, basically saying, why not fight the different political parties that we have apart from right? Why not work together, sort of merge for this fight, since there's no viable differences with the parties that are currently there. So the other 4 parties is one of the questions. The other question is, do you have any policy for women feminist or women policy in your political party? That was the second question that we had.
All right, thank you for raising those questions. Regarding why not work together, I think it's in reference to Wunat, Waitona, and Axumawian, I guess.
Correct.
This question has been around for quite some time now. We've been trying to hit to this question and come up with a viable answer. For those of you who kind of follow what we've been doing, when the Ethiopian army took over Mekelle and then elected regional government went to the bushes, some of us, actually regarding TIP, our last meeting was held when Shira failed. And that meeting raised 2 issues for discussion. One was
Are we cut off? If you can get to one of the mods, Girmay, quick enough to unmute him.
Can you make him?
Yes, he's asking to be unmuted.
Let me try.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Looks like he's disconnected, I guess.
No, I sent him to unmute.
Okay.
You're good now?
Yeah, I have unmuted now.
Awesome.
It was interrupted. That's why this happened. So I was talking about the last discussion we had before the then elected regional government went to the bushes, right? So the issue we raised was, after the surrender of Shire, have we lost the war or not? Then after some deliberation, we agreed we have lost the war. And the second issue that we discussed that time was, how can the struggle continue? The whole executive committee agreed the struggle should continue in all possible means, spearheaded by a military confrontation. And based on this decision from a committee of 7 members of the committee were sent to Kuala Temben. They tried to discuss with the TPLF leadership whether it was possible to create a kind of front involving our party and TPLF, so that this front will be able to lead the armed struggle if possible. Things did not allow that to happen. So, except Mahari, the others came back to Mekelle. Am I being heard? Please confirm.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, upon the return of the 8, we kind of hibernated for a month or so, if I remember correctly, and then we reconnected. And upon that day, our agreement was TIP alone cannot do anything because things were terribly bad at that time. So we tried to contact the other 2 parties, namely Baitona and Axumawian. And then after discussion of a day or 2, we agreed to work together, and we kind of established a forum. So if some of you can remember, we were having some releases through this forum, and that was how we were trying to work. Then in the meantime, the then elected regional government came back to Mekelle, and then we tried to push the TPLF leadership to create a kind of broad coalition that will at least put the objective of the struggle of the people of Tigray. We couldn't achieve that. And then slowly we came to kind of a party politics. So we started to have our own respective meetings and our own respective releases. But honestly speaking, up until the return of the Tigrayan army from North Shua, there was not much that we were doing in relation to party politics. So we were trying to help the people struggle for survival, as it was famously referred. But starting from the return of our army from North Shua, we at TIP started to work vigorously as a political party, and we proposed a kind of transitional government that needs to be established, involving all political forces, and lead the struggle. That was not accepted. And if I remember, Baitona did also propose a kind of national coalition. Axumawian were with us in relation to the transitional government that we called for. So kind of intermittently, we were working together based on issues that enabled us to work together. But through this time, there was a popular pressure for these three parties to come together, especially since the moment that both Axumawian and Berhe started to call for publicly an independent state of Tigray. So we were trying every now and then to come together, but there were various issues that held us back. But fortunately, starting from 2 or so months up to now, we have been vigorously working on the establishment of at least a common front. So far, we have agreed on the issues that are of prime significance towards realizing the vision of the people of Tigray. Now, I think the vision of the people of Tigray has become achieving an independent state of Tigray. So these three parties have agreed to work together, taking an independent state of Tigray as a major objective. And on top of this issues of seating TPLF through a democratic process and democratic government. These three parties have agreed to that the Tigray genocide shall be recognized so in the world, and perpetrators shall be held accountable, and the people of Tigray will be compensated. So this is the third issue that the three parties have agreed to work together on. The fourth issue that these parties have agreed to work together on is regarding the need for national reconciliation in Tigray. As you all know, there have been various political lineups and struggles in Tigray for so long a time, especially in the last 50 years. So these political lineups and internal struggles have wreaked a lot of havoc on the Tigrayan political landscape. So these three parties have agreed to work together so that national reconciliation shall be achieved in Tigray. So a nation without internal cohesion will not be a nation that could achieve its independence. So the motive to pick this as an issue is the need to heal any wounds that may be available in the Tigrayan nation, bring it together at least as regards the need to achieve an independent state of Tigray that will be good for all of us. So I think I mentioned 4 issues that these parties have agreed upon to work together. And the fifth and the last, these parties have agreed to work together for the development of liberal values, liberal ideas, and liberal institutions. So these are 5 issues that we have agreed to work together on. And now we are working on the platform. The platform so far is not completely worked out, but each party has its own regards. Our party, we have decided that the minimum platform we can accept is a front. If possible, we'll be working for the creation of one party, but issues that may force agreement, because if we are going to be one party, the respective parties should cease to exist. And if they agree to come up with one party, each party should at least carry out a general assembly, called general assemblies that the party should seize and establish a new one. I don't think we're there yet, but at least at the level we can come together. That is the hope on our side. When I say our, I mean on the side of TIP. We hope Axumawian are on the same page, and Berhe hopefully shall come to it. So I think we are on the final stage of having a concrete answer to the question that we should come together under one umbrella organization. It may not take more than weeks in my assessment. So regarding this question, I am promising we are coming together. The other question that I received was whether TIP has a policy that aims at encouraging the participation of women at all levels. Honestly speaking, we do not have a clear policy so far, but the party as a party and the leadership as a leadership has the agreement and the commitment that women should be able to join us. Women should be able to come up to higher positions in the party echelon. We have two echelons in the party, as I mentioned earlier, the Central Committee and the Executive Committee. The Executive Committee is a committee of 9 individuals. All of them are men. The Central Committee is a committee of 25 members. We had 2 members in the Central Committee because we wanted women to come forward. Upon their election to the Central Committee, we nominated them as, what do you call them, a reservist Executive Committee members, right upon their election to the Central Committee. But we were not fortunate enough to exercise our objectives, our programs and policies in a peaceful environment. So things went astray and the war came. So let alone having more women in our leadership, even the 2 members of the Central Committee are not active now. One is not in Tigray, she is outside Tigray. The other is in Tigray, but she is not active now. In fact, the one who is in Tigray now was leader of the one section of the party upon her election in the Central Committee. But now, for personal reasons, she's not active in the party. But what I can say is the leadership has the understanding and the commitment as regards the importance of the participation of women at all levels of the party. Now we have developed a strategy that governs our party politics. In that strategy, we are focusing on ways of recruiting members from not only women, but from I wish I couldn't use the term, but I have to use it, the minorities in Tigray. At least the Kunama qualify as minorities in Tigray, and the Iro people, officially, we kind of refer to them as minorities in Tigray, but regarding the Iro people, we have a debate in our party because some members of our party who come from that section of our society argue that Iro are Tigrayans, so they say they don't need a special denomination, but that's still a debate. As a party, we don't have an official stance regarding the matter. But in our strategy, the decision being theirs, we intend to take this into consideration and devise mechanisms that will enable representation of all sections of our society in our party. But so far, our achievement regarding the participation of women is meager, but I guess we will be excused given the age of our party. It's a very young party. We will be excused, I guess, given the situation that Tigray is in. So first and foremost, we have to work on increasing membership of women. Once we achieve this, it won't be pretty tough to get them ahead. That's what I can say.
Awesome. Thank you, Girmay. We're going to quickly go to the audience questions. Let's start with Mel. Mel, are you there?
Sorry, before Mel goes, Salamina, can we collect all the questions and Girmay will answer them all together instead of going back and forth for every question. If that's okay with you, Salamina.
Sounds from the audience, you mean? Or the chat?
Yes, I mean, we have 7 people who raised hands, and we give them all the chance. Then Girmay will answer them all together.
Awesome.
I'm sorry to interfere. How about instead we take 2-3 people at a time and then goes back to Girmay and do, one of the important things, the fundraising part as well in the meantime.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see. As I stated earlier, if we can make our comments or questions short so we can get to everyone and it's not too many things to answer. Meanwhile, though, I still want to continue reminding you guys about our fundraising efforts. Again, the link is in the chat, so if you can please share also the link with your friends and family. Thank you. So, Mel, sorry, Berhe. Yeah, Berhe, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to repeat that in Tigrinya. كلنا نمنتاي زي جورو نمنتاي خمس زي خونو نقول سبعة عليه حوسو مالتيو فاينانس بتعمي توم حتوم نجارات نمجوار بتعمي أدلاي إيو كلهم بارتات في لايزوم تقام تي هناك حوسو نايمولو جزء بوليتيكية بعد فونو كالي سرحنا سرحو كاونا يوحلهم جبان نوصو يوم كاسفات دورمو فاينانس كنحجزهم لايك الدنيو أمتا حتوم لكع مالتي سلازي بخوم كلهم بخالكم قورو كل فوتي غنيلي.
Thank you, Berhe. Mel, go. Mic to you. Mel H, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry, I needed your permission to unmute. Thank you, Girmay. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for taking our questions, and also thank you for doing it in English for people like myself who find it difficult sometimes to understand Tigray. My questions are very short, but there's I think like 2 of them, but they're very short, so it won't take that long. I will derive my questions from your manifesto, so it will mainly be about the ideology that you proposed. One of the things being that in the section 2 of your manifesto, you've said that there is main objectives that you think are worth fighting for, and you've detailed 5. And one of the ones that I found a bit concerning was that you listed using the wealth of an independent nation, and doing that in a way where you outsource a stabilizing force to the Horn of Africa. Firstly, I just wanted to ask, how is that different to outsourcing Tigrayans to Ethiopia? Because that is essentially what we are rejecting when we ask for nationalism, is the fact that Tigrayan resources and Tigrayan people and their labor in itself, including military labor, has been outsourced to Ethiopia when we do not gain any interest in that actually taking place. So what difference is it when we outsource our people essentially to the Horn of Africa in order to stabilize the region? 1. 2, one of the questions I also want to ask is about when you talked about the wealth and opportunities of the Tigray national government, you spoke about the inherent society traits within our society that says that we are able to organize in a short period of time. I just wanted to touch on the fact that do you not believe that, 1, it was the feudal system that had allowed us to do so before the socialist system, and now the socialist system that had paved the way for this very, very timely organization in a short period of time? And in which case, how is nationalism going to be able to help us grow this idea that you said we are able to organize in a short period of time? And is nationalism a way that can actually administer post-creating statehood, post-creating an independent Tigray? Thank you.
Sorry, Girmay, did you want to answer this? It might be a little bit expensive, or do you want to take more questions? Maybe a question or two more.
I can take more questions, but I'm sorry, Salamina, I didn't get the last question that she raised.
Okay, awesome. Mel, did you want to repeat your last question?
What I jotted down is how nationalism could help in the fact that we can organize quickly. That's the last thing I jotted down. But there was another issue that you raised at last.
Did Mel drop? Oh, she said, okay, I have to find you. If any of the mods can get to her faster.
Let me find her.
Yeah, thank you, guys. So the last question is that in your manifesto, you mentioned that you do not believe in capitalism nor socialism, and that nationalism itself is an ideology to administer. But I would like to know how nationalism can be incorporated into in a way where it can administer a nation when it comes to like things like economy, foreign relation. How would that be tangible in terms of administration? Thank you.
Awesome. Alam Tesfai, you can go ahead. I've sent you unmute request if you're with us.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I am with you now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Berhe, Girmay Berhe, for being here with us. Explain what TIP is doing and what's aiming to do in the future, and for giving us an alternative way of thinking. My question is, number one, I was worried hearing that Berhe Tigray having difficulties of continuing with their organization, political party. I don't know what's happening there. If you know more, if you can explain, and if it is true that they are going to be splitting or dissolving themselves. Is it good? Is it bad? How does this affect TIP? That was my question. Number two is not a question, actually. I'm just trying to say to our people here, please donate monthly, donate now. That's the way to go forward. I think we have to help. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. Mikhail, I've just sent you an unmute request. Please go ahead, and then we'll check in with them. Mikhail Taraga, are you there?
Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry, I was the first person who raised my hand. I don't know why you rejected my...
Oh, okay. So I'm just calling names according to the order I see.
The order is me, the first person to raise her. Anyway.
I'm sorry, Salamina. Now you got the chance, right? Just ask your question, man.
Yeah. Let me come to my point. And first of all, you better follow the previous sessions, like just collecting not one or three questions, but at least you have to have at least 10 questions, and then the presenter can answer the questions in one. So let me come to my point. First of all, I would like to appreciate like the younger fighters and politicians like Shawit who joined TIP just in few months. He is, I think, a repatriated person from the United States of America. And then let me ask Girmay that, as all we know, TIP has rejected to join the IRA or the transitional government which is going to be established in Tigray. So how long will you stand this last? I think because you are in a situation where there are so many obstacles that hinder you movement to see Tigray and independent Tigray. As we all know, TPLF is one of the veterans, the Banda veteran of our society, which we have never seen in our history. So I think he has already become a representative of the Arat Kilo government from the Ethiopian part. So I think, how are you going to fight? How are you going to fight such kinds of obstacles that you will see in the next I think few months or years? My second question is that TIP is a party that dreams an independent Tigray. That's why you are fighting to have, and we are also supporting you to have such an independent Tigray. But when are you going to see an independent Tigray? Do you have a plan that Tigray will be an independent nation in such kinds of few years, like 5 years or 10 years? Do you have a plan to see an independent Tigray within a specified time? I want you to answer me genuinely that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mikhail. Girmay, continue more questions, or are you good here? Girmay, did Girmay drop?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, Girmay said he got disconnected.
Okay.
And he's trying to join.
Awesome.
So essentially what's happening is I think the area where they're trying to connect from is being targeted, it seems like, because that area specifically is being turned off. That's the sad reality. I mean, it's a real fight these guys are putting on. So they need our support. Salamina, maybe until he comes back, about we talk about the fundraiser. I think Moose wants to share his thoughts about the need to support UNAT. So maybe can we give Moose a microphone, please?
Sure. Is any
or anyone else who wants to talk about the fundraising? I think.
So I think Girmay is back too.
Oh, let me see.
Thank you for everyone that's active in the chat, letting us know this thing.
Oh, he's back. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask him to be, and I'll make him a co-host.
Okay. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm asked to unmute.
Hello.
Hey, welcome back, Girmay.
Yeah, the connection was interrupted, and I think we got to live with this, right?
Yeah, what can you do?
So am I supposed to reply to the questions that I had earlier, or should I take some more questions?
Yes, I was asking if you're up for more questions. Continue. Should we take a couple more, Girmay, before you answer?
Good. If we take a couple more.
Okay, so we're gonna do, guys, I'm just calling as the order I see. So I see Wale, Gabriel, and Yukuno Mesfin. So I'm gonna start with Wale. I just sent you a unmute.
I got it. Thank you. So my first question is, I think he mentioned already they're kind of an agreement with to do together work, but not like as one party with other parties like Baitona and Axumawian. So the big issue is how do you be independent? How do you be like more competitive to PLF and other parties? What is the obstacles like now they can't be one part? Is that like ideology difference, or if you can reveal those kind of differences between TIP and the other Axumawian and Baitona? What holds them not to be one party? As we see, one issue is to be one making like Tigray independent. The second question is, when you think about Tigray independent, one of the things the failure of even on the TPLF or Tigray government was making allies with the global, this globally could be East Africa or other on the global. So how do you work to make recognition when get like support or get like green lines like this, like with other, it could be US and other parts of like globally effort? Thank you.
Thank you, Wale. Sorry, actually skipped Binyam G. I sent your request to unmute. Are you there? Binyam.
No, my question is already asked by the person. Just the guy that I just want before me is fine.
Okay, sounds good. Yukuno. Yukuno just sent your request. Are you with us? Yukuno, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Salamina.
No problem. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Girmay Berhe. Thank you, the organizers, doing this. I really appreciate it, especially Girmay and your party that you made the sacrifice for our people. My question is, let me ask in Tigrinya so I'll be comfortable more. كحتى زليو نجار من تام comfortable فينك حتى. قتي مزلة سجن جرماي تحزين زني أكونات هذا بيت هذا الأكونات. أبز حالة ثلاث عامات ونتصرح اللزوم زمانتيو. political parties ويدما تقاومتي أتحمل تصب أي فلتوان زمن نجاريو. أفتي تحتي وريدهم صرف أي خلود. ويما تلاقيهم ويبدي سبع أيام زمن نجاريو. إذا نجاري بسخاتكو كنتي كلنا نقول تحز لنا الكونات نقول هنا بتعمل سجاني political party مرح كنت مفروض تتفرح تنكسر في هونس وعلى خوني سرفت بالكونات يلا نجين حزين إشتي نجاري ما تفتح مثلا مثل إشتي برهني رأي إنه اللي كاش يسويمه حتى كم أنت تملسوا يلون أفتبايتها يلون أبتابع يلون أوردها يلون نجار كلاي مش حدا والكسبات بارتهم عملات كون يقولوا ما راح تكون يقولوا تقولوا زي كم بارتات كم أجندة زي بالنوم مسرح زي بالنوم الموساد زي كفتحوا تدوليو وانا قد بمزحت وسبوا مثلا حتى نساو مثلا زي راح من جبرة سوينا ستريس غير لك حل في اللي نجر إذا حبيب كان مسرح بس هو نجر حبيب كان مسرح البحر نجر ما يقدر نعرفهم كنت حاسول يلوفوا عرينا خد دفع من عندي في الدياسبورا لنا سبب مغنياته درجاتي أجندات أريبو يحكي مبزحته بحقي تجري اللي بحقي حاجة في اللي درجة اللي مبالغ عليه ግን أفتن حدا كان يزمنا أجندات إشتات كتطلبوا مو بحدا كتسرقوا معنا الدياسبورا وني من حجازو كتعملنا من كساسو تعملنا سحو كتعملنا من تن أبلي ستاف كيكون كتسرقوا كدفعكم مجالينا اللي يتحسب يعني اللي أما جرى ساجيشن كم زعيمة أخيرا تكبرت اللهم لا كان عليه بتعمل سجام السوسخانة كم تقول لهم عن طول الكون تيلي كونفرنسينج تتحصل جوي directly formality. It is easier to communication with, to connection with. بحاجة يسون حسوليهم. Thank you. أنا لين.
Thank you, Kuno. Sorry, for those who asked already, if you can please put your hands down so that we can go through the list quicker. Again, just quickly in between to remind you guys of the fundraising that we're doing also. The link is in the chat. So if you can please donate if you haven't already, and share the link with your friends and family. Girmay, do you want to take it over now? Or continue?
All right. Better if I reply now. I cannot be sure about the connection.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Salamina. I didn't catch the name of the first person who raised several good questions. I'm sorry for that. The first question we raised was in our manifesto. We appear to her as if we are kind of anticipating outsourcing Tigrayans in the neighborhood of ours. I'm glad that you rate our political program or manifesto, and I'm sure you are referring to point 5 of the argument that we tried to forward based on what we call Berhe in Tigray, which could be, I don't know, vision in English. So 5 states that using the potential of Tigray as a country, we will contribute to the peace and stability of our region. So the point that we're trying to state here is that we demand to be independent based on 3 basic reasons, according to our manifesto. One is looking back to the history of Ethiopia. The history of Ethiopia, which is point 1 in our manifesto, doesn't guarantee, let alone the continuous development and modernization of Tigray, let alone that, the history of Ethiopia does not guarantee the existence of a polity called Tigray. So one reason for us to call for independence is the mere fact that Tigray cannot continue to exist within the Ethiopian polity. The reason for this is the history of Ethiopia itself. I think this is obvious for most of you, because beginning from the fall of the Axumawian civilization, the story of Tigray is a story of confrontation with various tribes and ethnicities within Ethiopia, and confrontation. Tigray only geographically, but in terms of population as well. Within the Ethiopian polity, our fear is the possibility of losing Tigray great. So one thing that forces to call for the history shows us that Tigray cannot continue in Ethiopia. But our call for independence doesn't emanate from history alone. We also look at our vision, what we want to be as Tigrayans. One thing is we want to exist. So we want to maintain our existence. We define Ethiopia as a danger to our existence as a nation. Reference the history of Ethiopia. But what we want, Tigrayans as a nation, is not just, we have visions that we want to realize. The tribe would like to realize at least those 5 things in their future. One is the continuous and the continuous existence of our identity itself. That's what we put as vision number one. So any people would like to exist. So the history of Ethiopia does not guarantee that. When we look at our future, if we are to continue to exist, we need to have our own independent state. That is argument number one regarding subtopic 2 in our manifesto. Number 2, when we say existence, it's not existence in the form of, you know, people say confederation, federation, whatever. The existence that we want is, maybe some people could argue, Tigrayans can exist, spread all over, but that is not existence for us. If we want to exist, we say we want to exist keeping the territory of Tigray as well. So number 2, that we want to ensure in our future is the continuous existence of the Tigrayan territory itself. Number 3, given that we exist as people, we also want to be a proud member of the global community of nations. Why do we say that? Because we believe Tigray is one of the oldest civilized nations, which is lost from the world due to the haze or cloud of Ethiopia. So we would like to realize our independence because we need to come back to the global association of nations. So that's what we put as third kind of vision of the people of Tigray that cannot be realized within the umbrella of Ethiopia. The fourth we put here, I'm sure you read it, is given we exist as people, we exist as a territory, and given we exist as members of the global community of nations, we also would like to realize a fast and a secure path, a sustainable path, we need to realize an independent state of Tigray. That is our argument in point 4 of sub 2. The last that you raised refers to, given Tigray exists as a nation, and given Tigray is already on a sustainable path of continuous modernization as a nation, concomitant to this, we are envisioning a positive role of this new nation, which will help in stabilizing this volatile region called the Horn of Africa. So we do not mean we're going to outsource our capability as it was actually realized in the last 30 years in terms of sending military personnel to areas that have a problem of stability. That's not what we are envisioning in this manifesto. What we are envisioning is the fact that a Tigrayan nation has realized its independence in this region will by itself contribute to the stabilization of the Horn of Africa. When we say this, what do we mean? What we mean is, if Tigray becomes independent, we don't see it will be the last nation to be independent in the Horn of Africa. We think there will be some other nations that will follow suit and become independent national states. And from the history of the world, we understand that nations have a propensity to coexist and work together in a manner which is better than 2-3 empires sharing borders. So what we mean is the realization of an independent state of Tigray will be a catalyst for a kind of broader stability in the Horn of Africa, because just if Tigray starts it, there will be others that will follow this path. And we feel empires like Ethiopia, mini empires like Eritrea are part of the problem in the Horn of Africa. So realizing independence for Tigray will be part of the solution in the quest for realizing peace and stability in the Horn of Africa. That's what we mean by that point. Not that we'll be sending Tigrayans to areas of turmoil. That's not what we are envisioning in our manifesto. That was the first question. The second you raised was, we kind of argue in this manifesto, the people of Tigray have a tendency of organizing easily in relation to others in the region. We're not saying this is an absolute kind of advantage of the Tigrayan people, but when we look around in our neighborhood, these people have a tendency to organize easily. I'm glad that you raised feudalism might have contributed to that, socialism might have cemented it, but I would also argue that the value of organizing easily is realized through a long history of these people. We argue the Tigrayans are one of the people in the world who have a very long history. So through this long history, one of the things that these people have achieved is the ability to organize easily. And not only that, we also argue that the process of nation building in Tigray is kind of complete based on the kind of primordial line of argument in nation building. So this fact itself might have lent a hand in the tendency of the Tigrayans to organize easily when the need arises. So our hope is this ability of the Tigrayan people can be exploited in a much more propitious manner if Tigray has become an independent nation. We see it being kind of lost every now and then. If I am to refer to recent history, Emperor Johannes was able to tap on this ability to organize, and he was able to organize a formidable army. But that formidable organizational capability of the people was lost in his quest to kind of achieve the Ethiopian empire in a manner that he thought could be achieved. And quite the same thing happened after the military triumph of the TPLF-led armed struggle in 1991. So we argue the people of Tigray have a proclivity to organize, to come together and march towards a certain objective, but that ability is not taken to its proper end because of lack of the fact that these people haven't realized a completely autonomous independent sovereign state. So the argument is, if Tigrayans realize a sovereign state of their own, they can tap on this ability to organize in their quest to achieve a continuous development and progress that will allow them rejoin their peers in the history of civilization. So that's what we intend to tell to our audience when we say our people have a proclivity to organize easily, and that will be helpful in a better way if the Tigrayan nation has achieved its complete independence. One thing that she raised in relation to this is, how can this feudalism-based socialism cemented tendency of organization will be in consonance with nationalism? I think I touched upon this when I was trying to answer it now. Well, if we are to look at nationalism as a process, they define it as a continuous process of modernizing. So in the quest for a continuous process of modernization, the ability to organize will be helpful. That's how we think. They will be going together. Not that an archaic society, which is based on feudal hierarchy, and socialism is basically the same in terms of building archaic hierarchy, will be kind of going together. That's not our argument. Our argument is the fact that these people can organize will help them in working together to achieve a kind of continuous modernization, which is one definition of nationalism itself. And in relation to this also, you kind of implied that we appear to argue nationalism without capitalism or something like that. Now, the fact that we have liberal nationalism as our ideology must tell to all that we embrace capitalism, and from the capitalism that we are much more inclined, we are inclined towards liberal capitalism. So HIP as a party is in the liberal camp. So we are standing for what I said earlier. If I need to repeat them, I don't know. Individual liberty, we stand for all liberal values. And we embrace it in the liberal form of it. We don't even qualify it as such. So I think these were the questions raised by the first person. Next, if I catch the name properly, was Wale. He asked me in Tigrinya. I don't know if I have to reply in Tigrinya or in English. It's better if Salamina help me here.
Sure, you can respond in whichever language.
I would like to respond in kind. If I'm asked in Tigrinya, I would like to reply in Tigrinya. If I'm asked
absolutely.
In English. Would that be okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I think one asked me in English. It was you who asked me in Tigrinya, so I will be continuing in English. One questions were, why don't the three parties come together and form a single party in the state of maintaining the three parties and working on a platform that brings you together? We have two reasons here. The main reason is legal, basically, and technical. Legal, in the fact that these three have a kind of legal existence within the legal framework of Ethiopia. PIP has a temporary license. I am sure Baitona also have a temporary license. Axumawian also have a temporary license. So in terms of legal existence, it is these three parties that exist legally. And if they are to come to one party pretty fast, they have to lose their legal existence and ask for a legal existence of the new party. So I mentioned it earlier, we have a technical reason here. For the three parties to vanish, they need to undertake a general assembly, and the respective general assemblies should agree on the termination of the existence of the respective parties. We don't think we can do this pretty fast. It will take quite some time. This is one reason. The other reason, which is much more important, is all the three parties have their respective ideologies. Axumawian are toward social democracy. We are towards liberalism, qualified as liberal nationalism. And Baitona are toward kind of developmental state based on radical democracy. I'm not fully conversant with their ideology, honestly speaking. So this ideological difference cannot allow us just to come into one party right away. What we have done now is we have agreed to work together, as I said earlier, for the development of liberal thinking and liberal institutions in Tigray. This is one major leap ahead regarding an ideological, what should I call it? An ideological coming together, okay? So if we continue along this path, we hope our ideological differences shall be hammered upon through time and we'll be able to come toward one specific ideology. If we achieve this, it will be easy to come towards one party. So as it stands now, we have legal reasons, we have technical reasons, we have political reasons not to come into one single party. And we feel that should not be of too much a concern. If we are able to come into a front, remember the EPRDF, it was a front, right? But as a front, it was able not only to lead Ethiopia, but it was also able to bring Ethiopia into a kind of at least a path of economic growth. So coming to a front itself is a big achievement. So we are working to achieve at least this level of coming together. So if we achieve this, it doesn't mean each respective party will be working independently. No, we're going to have a common leadership of that platform. So most of the things that we do will be along those 5 issues that I stated earlier. We don't think there will be other issues which are much more important to the people of Tigray at this time, apart from the quest towards independence, the struggle to ensure accountability on the genocide that is committed on as a people, the struggle to achieve national reconciliation, the struggle to achieve a kind of democratic governance in Tigray, and the struggle to put Tigray in its proper place, taking the world as scope. So far, we have been tainted with illiberalism based on TPLF's revolutionary democracy, developmental state based on quasi-communist thinking and undertaking. So we're trying to bring Tigray out of this painting and put it in its proper place. We feel the proper place of Tigray is in the liberal camp. So we have agreed to work together for the development of liberal thinking, liberal values, and liberal institutions. So if we are to work on these 5 things together, we don't think there are other issues which are much more important to Tigray now. So I'm saying if we achieve a common leadership to carry out those 5 things, I feel this is a very strong platform. So achieving this itself is a big achievement. And I personally feel the step from this, call it front or whatever, or Congress or whatever, I don't know the name shall come in the near future. However you call it, the step from this coming together of 3 parties to the next stage, which is constituting one single party, will not be a very long distance. That's my assessment. So push us as much as you can, push us to come together. But if we achieve what we are apt to achieve now, that itself is big. So the need to come up with a single party is obviously a positive thing. Most of us want it, but for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, it will take some time. The other thing that Wale raised is, are you working on creating allies globally? Well, we are a party. So the allies that we try to make are in relation to other parties, in relation to institutions, in relation to nations. So far, I should tell you honestly, we are trying to link with nations through their embassies. We're trying to link with some institutions, mainly institutions that are interested in working on ensuring accountability to the crimes committed on Tigray. We are also trying to create links with some institutions that are ready to help kind of multi-party democracy in any corner of the world. But I don't say we have achieved a lot as regards this. It is work just beginning. I hope the platform that we are going to create will work on this vigorously. I also have overheard, while mentioning the issue of recognition, in my understanding, by recognition, he is referring to the recognition of an independent state of Tigray. In my assessment, that's a long way to go. Usually the way to achieve it is first, you state your objective clearly. and TIP has clearly stated the objective of achieving an independent state of Tigray, then you work to achieve this objective. Usually recognition comes after a de facto realization of independence. But this doesn't mean the work is done sequentially. The work for recognition should work parallel with the work that you're doing with a view to achieve an independent nation of Tigray. So now, honestly speaking, the issue of recognition is not of utmost significance. The issue of utmost significance now is the issue of creating the organizational capability that could lead the struggle towards realizing the independent state of Tigray. We are working on that. So my hope is, if we manage to create a viable organization that will struggle for the achievement of an independent state of Tigray, the work of all things that need to be done so that Tigray becomes a proper nation shall be by that organization. So far, our main problem was and still is with a clear purpose of achieving their independent nation, but the I don't know, call it organization or group, which is at the helm of this struggle, has not taken this objective. So the most important thing to do now is bringing the organizational capacity that will lead the struggle towards realizing an independent state of Tigray. So we're working on that. Hopefully that will be a big thing in the quest for an independent state of Tigray in the full and proper sense of the term. So these were Wallace's 2 questions. The last person who forwarded some questions to me was Yukuno. He asked me Grinya, so I'll be replying into Grinya.
Sorry, Girmay, quickly to cut you off. Were you able to get Alam Fatai's question? She asked were you able to get Alam's question?
What were they? Maybe she asked it when I was out because of the connection disruption.
Right. Alam,
yes. Oh, I think how could you? Was you follow a? I didn't. Antoy تسابر إنجليزية حتى. دولة سيمل أيوناي حرام. كعتت.
Yes, go ahead and ask.
Okay, that ways حتكون Girmay مجمرة يعني اللي مسكن أبدي مثلا مهلا هايلة مسكينك Girmay تا نمج المريات مالونا يعني رأيت إن بتوتات بزي همبر بزعبا ناي بايتونا زرب نجار نهم سم نجار نهم حلقات ويس تيذكر بريت يا تفضل أنا قد هالي ليش تحاوري الناس بونيرو صبودي وحما أودي تسكايد زلوا معنا خذ ويكاني تكمي بخمي صلوا إلى أحد يتهنس تخلوا عينيرو يغني اللي.
Awesome, thank you, Alam. Continue, Girmay. Sorry.
All right, thank you. Alam's questions were asked in Tigray, so I'll be repeating. Right now, I'm fresh. I think that was Arabic. يمكن تسألهم. أنا زفلت نقدر نتعلم قدمي له كذا أنا أمزح قدوة في ثمنهم. أحرقنا بزحات تزيد كل مدرخات بس يزنركب. فلا يقولون زخون زوم أخيرا. توم أكيدنا زول مريحنتين بعرف كذا أنا بحوارهم. ما يتناقلون كزارو. ريال هو زي بخمي ماتيو سمي فوتبول أنا يفوتون نايم فلاش هذا قاعدين أنا زفلتو إلا كحزق مدب شرنو تناي ودب مريحنا تأكل ناو سنة يخيد الله وبعد سمي ونل عوش سوم زلنا ناي أوديتن كنت سرنا أكل الكايدا بارتي بوليتيكا أي زعمن وش تو فلا قديش كعزقن بايتو كل كمدب شرحهم زلي يسفلت شرح زلي ما تنفضوا مريحنا شيء ناتا كمان والسنة يخيطكم زلي يحاول يتزلي أبزين لعلي زورنا زفر أم حتيتهم صنكم شوي يزول هنا أمناي يمكن نحطهم مسغلهم حزب شين ودوات يفتك ننزلو أبتاع ودا يلوهم من زي مفتاح انتاي تقول لهم تخكليو زانا نونات فكيلا دي زارب أبتو مرساوان دارقاو كل وردا تغريونا نيرنا دوم زغرنا يا حسيات ما زوزعو كابتخاري منير زوم حسيات من المال محاوراتنا بزوا درجة كله نير يشعو أو ورداتاتون أما أخلفا دارقا أو كل ورداتات وكلت نيرنا أنا نيرمنا بسمينا ومعرابون كمو أم معراب أب زوبان أب خلت وردان نيرمنا ودبوب مرورلس نيرمنا لذي أوجه مامرانا دحنير حرقن توس مسألة يا كلهم كم تفلتوا أنا مقدار يخوي رفنا زوانا ورداس أما خلنا زلوا هو ولا نقص درجة دبزعو 7 ميتاوي أنا مقدار يمكن يحريو مغلا نسا مسوسات قرب محاورنا دخلنا كساسيلنا مغلا وقرو عدقرات نبرابرن لا نسرحنا نململ وات نمد كني لهم لا مقدار يخدو فلسنا نململ نمد مقدار يخدو it was kind of Sisyphus sure سكا حزون سويزلو تحكي ازغن تحد نشكركم زلنا ز فندريزنج ون بلا موزي سواتنا سراويت زلو علي حاتتنا لنا سراويت تግራይ ناودوم كملسوم خوري ناودو سرحتهم كجمرو ابزي كاب تشعت على زلو فصام سراح كل سراويت اللونا ودعوي صاويت غيرنا لنا سراويت سروحليو يخيد الله كرا وانك سدوم تسفا يقبر عسرت سدوم مخلاي كوميتي ناي وردا أزواب صحفات أمرارحان ورو أولاتنا ونكموش ومزرزيرنا من دبدابي سراويت تግራይ حتيتنا كملسلنا دحنز بحال منفس نسرح تسفا يقبر أو كرا غزي ناودوم كملسو زيوم مستمرسو أنا سي تنزنرا نايزوان تتخيلوا تنزنرا ناي وردا نايات صحفاتنا كنبرا برانينا ورو بصقي منازلو ابتي ناي رعات إثيوبيا زمرن زلو ناي تግራይ كفالت كمينا نخيد زل صرزقبو ነገር ሎ انتو ناي تግራይ محدار تملسي زبحال كن مليشو خا سراح يدن يبحال انتو زلو ب تنا إثيوبيا سرعات تمدو حوس ما حضرت المسؤول سوات اللي هو وصوم كنسرح لنا سرحت وين همينا نسرح زيتات اللو كنسرز قبو زيرجر ግን تحكي تابع يلنا بزحل ورداتات يلنا حز ግን كنهلو إنا نسرح كم ونات قدنا وكل طايا خنهلو لنا كنتو حوحات زغورو شعتنا سرعنا وهي اليوم زروسو كاو وهي كيف كان سرتو دا قلمله فما عين تكايدا نمرسو يكون كما كايدا سواتي كو مانيفستو حزوم يمايتو هريوز مصا سنداتو من الله استراتيجي سندات ساتنون يمايتو لن اندحر اوزن سندات تمسريتهم مانيفتيرم حبر شغنو لو يفطرو أنا حبار الشقات ما خلتن دعليون تغينهم شقي غنمو شقات كلتا سلستان تغينن نزيهم تأميرو بيت صحفات كفلو وداين عندي لازيتو بيت صحفاتنا قدن وردا زوا تعالينا ولا زي كون زغيد لأن حبرت شقاتنا نرأي زغيد مالك هو من قدينا ودا دوانا زرقو حمدي فاوت ودا دواد ما قدن سكا تحت وردو هم تقولوا بطرفنا زمرح انت يكونش وانا حساباتن انفتاتن ودب زوزن صح هذا دما توتات سقمات مررتات زقرب بعيدا كيدلي بعقمنا بتزلنا حزنا يزونا سقمات مررتات وسرايسنا زلو كليات سقمات سمعنا انهم اورجنايز ناغرنا بصحف ملك ضم መንግስት ትግራይ ዝመርሑ አካላት ናቀረብና ኢና መሲና ሕዚ ተስፋናወልና ግድፈልና ስራሕ ስምፍታሕ ስለዘይብሉ ስለዚ አካይዳና ግድን እቲ መንግስታዊ ማሕውዝ ተኸተለ ንሰባት ጠርኒፉ ከውፍር ዝዓለመ እንተይኮነስ ካብ ህዝቢ ናብ ውድብ ካብ ውድብ ናብ ህዝቢ ከጋኒ ዝኽእል አሬንጅመንት ፈጢርና ኢና ክንከይድ ንደሊ እቲ አሬንጅመንት አንተ ዝበልኩም እዩ بس هزيتو نقول لنا أنا هفت متخوف للنحر تعويتو تو عن توزو الكخم إثيوبيا زلوا تجراي ون بخامي كنكاس هاوس نخيل زول عرينا مش الرجاجتنا بملو النت كنوفر لنا زي لازم تناسى ورداتات كنهلوينا كأورد الناون عبرت شجاتن وزلوا أيها صحفت كلوا أن يوم تعاود تخلونا مالتي الذي الجماعة مرانا تبغي نيرو تفحز على محاور درجة السنة تعيش ناس نحتاجه أي مرة حتى يحزقنا ميتنا 50 شومان مورسيو يقربوا بس فلالي مخنيات سعنتو يوتو خمونا الكاي ميتنا 50 شومان يرمو زيهم تقوق محاورن شفان كلونا غيرونا نيروم يوم كنت خوينات دحريت ماليشنا له عزسونا بوتو خنملس سرحه وداوغت المخانو قلنا وداوغن بينو يكونن اورا مكالسينا لنا نوستو تفلالي قطام كم زغلصنا يوم هذا استراتيجينا بعاوي وزدهب سليم اورغانيزيشن اندزكال سفح نايزو منقصاص أم مفتاح علم كم صح زول عندي إزنانا نقص أصلنا سلزي أم ميدياتات أو آخراتات أو سلفتات أو تذهب نقص أسيو قول سلزي تودانا باورو نزي زخير قول اللوي إننا نسرح لنا الذكال أو سفيع الدان مفتاح جن نشرح لي القول تالي قال أمالاتكم زي كنا مثل خيرلوكم يقولوا زي خليكم تعري وتسعروا زلهم عينة حطيو زي هذا سقم زقت منا زلهم سلسته ودواتينا جن أمر كله خلص سقم كله خلص خم حدا ودينا وسد أنا جرماي تزاري وأنت خفيو زين تقاوم تودواتي زمان سقم فترة لا زي نمرام سعر لنا بعضنا قد وزحيد معنا كمونات انتهينا غيرنا كد زكالتو ناي هزركم شرحتنا مخول خول زملكتو خفلخ مرح هنا غيرنا ناي هزركم شرحت زمرح كفلي هزركم ميديان زبحلنا زخفل زمرح دكتور رجنيو زكال زخفل السوق كايدو هنا نقبر ناي هزركم شرحتي لازم تستوعبوا تخوني هم زمزح زي زارة مجلسات زهير توتات تقبل موريز زهير بعلو دكتور رجنيو استغال قالوا أنا ريتوتات نتعرر من لمينا كان كرر تقول أجل عدون قلنا تعرين سخاتكم يخون ديانو سخاتكم كلوا وين نوصل لازم خند زكال صراحة نقول كون الروف كون كمودو تمايت كمن يخيد تاين أسوات حزبي يخيد نانا كاساس زلنا أبز زلوزك سر زي أتأكم كيناتنا زلاجن كاب تقاومت زخونة أكل التزارع وصي زين تقاومتي ودبات أمزي ولا الوازن تقاومت ودبات زعرا بينا تالز متى عزل إحنا كابونات أو حسابنا نتكر يزوي نستويسكم من قصة تقرأي كابر خلال بس حتى كاترا كونسل ترانزيشنال كونسل مالت بعلو من قصة تقرأي يزمر حقن كان عسى بداية دبلوماسي نايزوق إعلامان من السارن هو مسيرة ما مراحل وسان قد زلوا كابرا كتعدي أنا ودواتون زرب حسن تليو زي قلب غالزنا أحاويسهم وزقوهم وأيد كونسل زي حسابي زي ناغرنا نحنا زي زوبولو مستسانة دفعنا ون مسلات مسابة وغن سالساوي دي زي سجر من قصة زي كله أكال بعد كيلو بستفلو أرنجمنت زي الوزول ديسكشنات سلزنارة الزحف زي بدن بعق منامنت ما عملنا سند الدالينا هذه سجر من قصة تاش كنا ناس مسلسل يعني حوارا قومين أكرر أنا كن اللي تزفنا له ولا تعرف سند الدالين سلسلة شو منتن قد سنة سجر من قصة بخناي زويل بدن بديسكاس قبنا بعق مناينا أغربنا زي حسابي أنا حزبنا بخبان عسوان بعمي مرير وسن سنة عسوان كل تملك يعني يشتمل كعنه فمثلات بدك إمبوز جور وني فمثلات بدك إمبوز جور ونقر وخمي بداز بدنا من لا يكون لنا يكون الزراعي لا يلو بحيل خن بده هنا يبانو نيرنا قلت أنا وشتي بان عسوان مداي بمداي after this with the leadership of the government of Tigray عوفة دالينا 20 قلنقت قولي قطرنا إسلامات إنا قوة وفتنا تعامنا استوت من السبت عوفات ملاوينا وفر نحسا ودبينا إنا زمان سنة لو تغنى قلت يوم سلستدي يوم معي بعتدي يوم عاب سلستينا معي بالتزارو قطري عزيف زرواخم نتكر عزيف من نقاركم نتكر عزيف حسابكم زي نتكر عينت غفتاي مثلا زنا غفتازي قاليو تغمنايو ننصرنا نشرح لينا قاليو جن زموليو يزم زغنا كان نتمول زفو هنا انا من دوان زبري لذي زول مرداء يدل يزول كالي تا نموداتا متحساسي غيرو يكونو زنا حدنت ودا استيمكم سرحلا ربو يدفونا بتعمي افراروحنا دحر حدا زيكونكم واغاولكم من زول سقطي يتغمنايو او اشتنا زيرو تردو انا نتون زي ولكن اود زيتات فطر عقفات نمحققو انت ناي دغ في تعم سلتكم انا بوزيتيفلي از وسدو تعمي ابريشيت دورو ግን ሕዚ እዚ ብእውነት ተገንዚብና ንሰርሕና ዘለና ተስፋና ድማ ቀረባ ሓደ ከም እዩ ሓደ ኮይና እቶም ናይ ባሕቂ ውፍያት ዝኾኑ ኮሚትድ ዝኾኑ ኣብ ሰለስተ ውድብ ዘለዉ ሰባት ንቅድሚት ክነምፅእ ክንፍትን ኢና እሱ ጥራሕ ዘይኮነት ዝፍጠር ፕላትፎርም ኣብ ዘል 5 ኣጀንዳታት ኣሚኑ ክጣለስ ንዝደሊ ኩሉ ትግራዋይ ክፍቲ ከም ዝኸውን ናሓሰብና ኢና ንሰርሕ ዘለና ስለዚ ሓድነት ዘምፅኦ ዓቕምስ ኣብዚ ዘለና ናብ ሓደ ብምጥማት ጥራይ ዘይኮነ ኣብ ዝተፈላለየ ክፋላት ትግራይን ከባቢታትን ዘለኹም ተጋሩ እውን ናብዚ ፕላትፎርም እዚ ተሓዊስኩም ኣበርክቶኹም ክትገብሩ ዘኽእል ይኸውን ኢልና ስለንሓስብ በዚ መዳይ እውን እዩ እቲ ተስፋና ክብ ከብል ኢልና ንሰርሕ ዘለና ስለዚ ዝሕቶ እዚ ዝምለሰሉ ብርኪ በፂሕና ኣለና እየ ዝብል ትድፊት ግን ክቕፅል እዩ ዘለዎ ብጣዕሚ ፅቡቅ يغني لي زين زمستات كلهم نحبرس يكون كم زين سلسته ودوات كلنا هاجر زلا تهاجر زلو نجر ما بزوح زي فلان خوي من دهلوس كلنا تجارون نحبر بزاج اندازي حاورنا حد خوينا እንደዚህ ቃል ታናዩ አልና ጉጂ ሀገር ንገሩ ልኸንሲ በዚ ቃል ቅልጣፈን እንደዚህ ቃል ብዝተሓተ ጉዳእትን كمصون زغير من قدي نانا دنا نسرح قدن زقبر مدرخ يو زلو مدرخ سلازي ودا حد النت عبرتيها كدفلو زقبايو إلى زامن لازي يغني اللي نتولو سوات I think تنستل على زينين بزكال كملش فتينا لهم تن بتقرنيا زول كون briefly بإنجليش ما الجد اللي تغينوا يا مويلين سلامينا وزي أيتو.
No, I think we're good. We want to get to as many questions as we can, so I think it is great. For time, we're thinking maybe because we started a little bit later, 30 to 45 minutes more. Is that okay with you, Girmay?
Now it is 20 to 11. It's okay if we proceed up until midnight. Okay. I'm saying this because we have a public meeting in Makala tomorrow, but I can stay for a while, no problem.
Awesome. So we do have 6 hand raised and then audience questions. So I'll quickly just go through the audience question and see if
we can have at least 2 hours together.
Okay, then we're good. Perfect.
2 hours
audience
from now.
Okay, sounds good. That's more than enough. So back to some of the questions are back to the transitional government. Since you said some of the questions I've sort of eliminated only because it was already answered for those who asked in the chat, and hopefully you were here for it. Since you said that you were not joining the transitional government, what are your next plans and what outcome are you expecting by not joining? Since this is temporarily interim government, why don't you join and work from inside to be more effective? Then followed, are you registered as a political party in Ethiopia? And then, what is the likelihood of conducting self-determination and peacefully form an independent Tigray? How are you going to solve the border issues with Tigray and neighboring regions and Eritrea? And says Plan B, do you have any Plan B? Eritrea decides to sign military pacts with the Ethiopian government. What is your stance, opinion on the 2002 Border Commission decision and its implementation? Are you, sorry, am I too fast or are you good? We'll have 3 points and then.
A little bit pretty fast.
Okay, sorry. So with the border, it's asking what is your stance or opinion on the 2002 Boundary Commission, so the border decisions that were made and its implementation.
Okay.
And then another one is, what is your assessment on the cessation of hostilities agreement between Ethiopia and Tigray? Do you think it will succeed? How is it going, essentially? What is your assessment on the status of the occupied territories, such as Western Tigray and Southern Tigray and more? So how is the agreement so far going? Do you think this is something that will continue to progress? And what is your assessment about developments in Amhara state and Eritrea related to Tigray after the peace deal? What is your assessment about development in Amhara state and Eritrea related to Tigray after the peace deal? So I guess the position of Amhara and Eritrea in this peace agreement. Those are the audience questions, Girmay. If you're okay, we can. Sorry, did you want to answer this first and then go to last set of questions of the 6 that are hand raised? Or do you want us to ask the...
I'd like to answer these questions and we'll get back to
awesome.
Questions.
Sounds good. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't you join the interim government? We don't think there is anything positive we can realize by joining this interim government. Because if anything good is to be achieved in Tigray, we feel it should start by making TPLF realize that it has to stop acting on behalf of Tigray as the only party. So far, that was the story, at least for 30 years, as a party which runs the Ethiopian government in collaboration with the other three parties in the EPRDF front. And regarding Tigray, they were the only party running government. So up until now, it is Tigray. So our demand is that has to stop. That has to change. At least TPLF should realize that there are other actors on the Tigrayan political landscape, I should say, and these actors should be recognized, and these actors should be given the opportunity to contribute in the decision-making process that's made on behalf of Tigray and Tagam. Until we achieve this, we have to keep on our struggle. That is the stance we have now. Now, if we join this interim administration, so far, given the arrangement that the committee has come up, this interim regional administration has 8 clusters, of which 6 are taken by TPLF, 1 is given to the army, another is given to the intelligentsia. So, just for the sake of argument, let's agree that the army is independent of TPLF, the intelligentsia are independent of TPLF. So the story is going to be 6 versus 2. So still, decisions are going to be made by the TPLF. Let's come down from the clusters to the cabinet member bureaus. This IRA has 28 bureaus. Of these 28 bureaus, 14 are taken by TPLF right away. Only 6 are given to the opposition parties. The rest are given to the intelligentsia and the army. Again, for the sake of argument, let's feel that the army is independent, the intelligentsia are independent. Still, TPLF has the lion's share in this cabinet. So decisions are going to be made by the TPLF. Now, decisions being made by the TPLF, leadership being provided by the TPLF, the result so far is the Pretoria Accord. So if this process, which brought us thus far, does not change, our joining there means nothing, apart from the continuation of this path, which in our assessment is a path toward oblivion, is a path toward a complete, I shouldn't say a complete failure. We're just on the brink now. So we need a struggle that enables changing this course of action. We feel this is possible if we keep on the pressure on the TPLF leadership from outside, not from inside. So that's why we decline to join in the IRA. And we have been telling all Tigrayans in earnest that our interest is in the process of erecting the IRA, not the IRA itself. And the process has been flowed. Because the process has been flowed toward the TPLF, the interim setup is completely biased in favor of the TPLF. So the TPLF acting alone, the TPLF acting as the most predominant party, the result is what we have realized. If we're going to have a different outcome, we need to change the path. If that path is to change, we have to come together, we have to coalesce, we have to create the leverage that makes the TPLF reckon the fact that there are other actors in Tigray, they have a capability, they have a vision, they can deliver. Upon this moment, we hope the TPLF may come down to a genuine table of negotiation. At that time, we hope there will be a change in the political dynamics of Tigray. And once we change the political process, the political dynamics, we can anticipate a different outcome. Otherwise, joining hands with the TPLF has been what we have been doing so far. We don't think we have served our people rightly by doing this, so we need to change from now on, and that's what we are doing by declining the offer to join the IRA, taking only 6 offices to be led by 8 cluster bosses, of whom 8 are TPLF per se. So that is our argument. I hope this argument could be bought by some may not buy this argument. That's fine. So debate is a healthy component of any political dialogue or discourse. Regarding whether it's possible to realize self-determination for Tigray within the current framework, well, I should say now it has become much more difficult than before, because if we were able to invoke self-determination maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it would have been better. If we were to coalesce as Tigrayans for the sake of independence, and if the armed confrontation with Ethiopia were to be laid based on this clear objective, our assessment is we would have been able at least to achieve the status quo of the Tigrayan regional
Recording
state
stopped.
without relinquishing our military capability. Now we are getting into a different scenario, which is not helpful to our request for the realization
Recording in progress.
which is not helpful for the realization of an independent state of Tigray. But the option we have is only one. We have to keep on the struggle. If we keep on the struggle, we feel it will be possible to achieve complete self-determination for Tigray. We say this because we understand the main obstacle we had was a leadership with resolve toward this objective. Now we have to work on mending this problem. We need to have a leadership with the commitment, with the caliber, having the objective of complete self-determination for Tigray. So we say this is step one. If we achieve this, it's a big if, because we Tigrayans appear to have a struggle to go through, to come to this level, a level at which the predominant leadership is a leadership which is fully committed for the achievement of an independent state of Tigray. Now we don't have that. So step one is achieving this. This requires a struggle on its own, rather. Once we achieve this, we hope, just like the saying goes, step by step the ladder is ascended, we'll be able to reach there. So first we need to have the leadership, then we need to have the required organizational capacity, the structure. If we achieve this, the popular mobilization is there. So with these three in place, we will be able to reach our assessment. How long will it take? I can't say. It will achieve three things takes a long time. It will not take a long time if we achieve the required leadership.
No, I think he might be. Give it a few minutes until he returns.
Hello, it was interrupted for a moment.
You're back. Awesome. Continue.
I'm audible now, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I'm sure it's possible to achieve self-determination for Tigray. We just need a proper organization. The other issue raised is the border commission decision. In our assessment, that decision has been void, beginning at the moment decided to invade Tigray. So TIP doesn't take the border commission decision as a viable, intact decision, because one of the parties to this decision, namely Eritrea, has violated it flagrantly. So it means nothing now. Instead of this, EIP takes the relationship of Tigray in high regard. That is manifesto itself. We feel Tigrayans have their brothers and sisters on the other side of the Merb. These brothers and sisters, quite a significant component of them, are in a state which has not been helpful to us as well as to themselves. We understand that was because of the leadership in Asmara. So if our Eritrean brothers and sisters are able to dislodge this leadership, we feel we have a lot in common. We feel there is a lot that we can do together. So our interest is mainly in relation to this issue, the issue of the relationship between Eritrea and Tigray. As we stated it in our manifesto, in terms of people, in terms of territory, Eritrea and Tigray should have been one, but they are two because of the unfortunate event of the fall of Emperor Johannes at Matama and the division of this one and the same people based on a river named Merb. We would like that to change. We would like to see the people on both sides of the Merb to realize the fact that they are one and the same people. We would like to work this. So that's what we envision as a party. So this is much more important to us than the border commission decision. That's what. Okay. The other issue raised is how do we see if Eritrea and Ethiopia sign a military pact? Well, so far it's obvious that what they are doing attests the fact that they have this kind of pact. They are working together. They fought the war on Tigray together. They are still together. There are no issues that can make us think the other. So that pact, in our view, is not good, because what they have done together so far shows how bad a pact that pact is. So we would like to tell everyone that a pact between Eritrea and Ethiopia has brought Ethiopia from where she was to what she is now. I'm talking about Ethiopia. Ethiopia was at least having a modicum of stability. Ethiopia was at least being mentioned as a state with hope for quite some time. starting from the time that Ethiopia and Eritrea started to work together in a manner which is apparently a military pact. What has come to Ethiopia is what we know. We have suffered as a result of this with Tigrayans. So we wish Ethiopia comes back to senses, but we don't see that now. So still they're in a pact. That pact is against us, Tigrayans. That pact aims at the elimination of us, Tagaru. So we have to view it like that and stand against it. That's what we say. That's what we would like to work on, have been saying and working upon so far. So that's how we view a military pact between Ethiopia and Eritrea. It's a pact against our existence. And we have to be aware of that. We are sure we are aware as people, but we don't think we have a leadership which is completely aware and knows how to play things safely through this. That's what I can say. The other thing you raised is how do we see the signing of the cessation of hostilities between Tigray and Ethiopia? Well, that accord is unfortunate for us, Tagaru. If we had a leadership which was at humble enough to accommodate different views and allow them to contribute in terms of leading the struggle that we went through the past 2 years, we feel we wouldn't have been in Pretoria. But because of that, we are forced to sign a cessation of hostilities agreement while our enemies are having cessation of hostility, which would even require Ethiopia to ensure the return of our Tigrayan refugees within Tigray to their proper places. I can continue listing all these items of dismay, but in one way, that was the only option we had at that time. And the wrong path that the leadership chose brought us to this outcome. That's what we say. And to make matters worse, the only glimmer of hope we had that emanated from this agreement was the fact that it kind of allows the establishment of a transition process which will be participating in a sense. It will be an inclusive interim administration. But now, to dash that hope of ours as well, the process of having the transitional administration has been a process which guarantees a sheer dominance of the TPLF. And as I have been saying repeatedly previously, this path won't bring anything good. That's our assessment. So that's why we're working to change at least this path, where we're at least to see the involvement of all Tigrayans, when I say all, as much as possible, in the decision-making process on behalf of the Tigrayan polity. Our stance as regards Western Tigray is clear. From day one, we've been calling for the withdrawal of the occupying forces from that part of Tigray on repeated occasions. We still stand there. We don't see a functioning interim administration which allows the continuous presence of the force of occupation in Western Tigray and in parts of Southern Tigray. So our stand is clear. The force of occupation need to withdraw from these parts of Tigray. We will do anything possible, anything that we can do towards this, what we can do is basically political, and that's what we've been doing. So our stance is clear. We don't compromise on this. We fear there seems to be a tendency on the Tigrayan leadership, which appears to be, in essence, compromising on this issue. We shall see in the coming short period of time whether this leadership is compromising on this or not. We suspect it is. We suspect it has already compromised on that, because so far it has been performance since the signing of the Pretoria Accord. Nothing has been achieved in the direction of the withdrawal of the forces of occupation from those areas. So we still call upon the Tigrayan leadership to work on this. We are working on it, and what we can do is stating our stance to our people who want to take us seriously, that we on this, compromising on this will not be in the interest of at least peace. If Ethiopia wants peace, if Eritrea wants peace, if Amhara wants peace, the very least that they can do is at least restore the kind of constitutionally recognized Tigrayan territory. Without doing this, we don't think there will be peace. So we don't compromise on at least the constitutionally recognized territory of Tigray. The territory that we envision for Tigray is beyond that. There will be time upon which we will declare that, but at least now we don't compromise on that. The other thing that is raised is how we assess the situation in Amhara and the relationship they appear to have with Eritrea. Well, there appears to be Eritrea and Amhara, which aims at a continuous weakening of Tigray and, if possible, an elimination of Tigray. Well, honestly speaking, they have achieved a lot on that path, but we Tigrayans need at least to spare what's left and reclaim what we have lost. So at least as regards this, we have to come together, we have to work together. We are following that as much as we can. There has been no change as regards to one thing. It has been clear for the past at least 20 years. So there's no change there. So unless we come to our senses and come together and change the path that we have come all the way through, these forces are trying to add upon what they have achieved so far. So that's what we see, and that's pretty disturbing. It's pretty disturbing because the leadership we have is kind of marred in the allocation of some bureau positions, and we feel they are not vigorously following this up. Well, what we can do is what's possible for us. So our follow-up doesn't show something which is helpful. It portends another looming war. So we have to be cautious about that and try to do what we can do. That's what I can say. I think I have tried to address all the issues that are raised. If there are things that I don't, we have time for another round.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Girmay. We do have 4 people that raised their questions. Their hands, we can do them, and we can wrap up with
A second, there's one thing that I have skipped. we are registered as a party. This was raised, right? Yeah.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, Tigray Independence Party, we had a temporary license which allowed us to organize the General Assembly of the party establishment, which was and the requirement of the Electoral Board of Ethiopia is a party needs to undergo an establishment assembly. Then, if the party is to be registered as a regional party, to see 4,000 individuals from that region, we had that. And then we need to have a political program, which is our manifesto, and party constitution. So we all we compiled all these documents and sent it to the board. At that time, there was COVID. Board director said they could not accept the document mentioning COVID as a reason. So what we have is a temporary license. Had they accepted all these documents and had they proceeded along the electoral proclamation of Ethiopia, important for us to have the full certificate, which secures us a full party existence. We don't have that. The other parties are more or less at the same level. The only difference is the Electoral Board of Ethiopia has received the documents that I mentioned earlier. I think they have received all the documents of Axumawian. They have received all the documents of Baitona because they were established some 8-7 months before us. So there was no COVID, at least, to be used as a pretext of time. So all of us have a temporary license. All of us need to work to get a certificate of full party existence. We are trying to instigate that. We have contacted them on the telephone. What they said is until the interim government is dry and until the terrorist tag of the TPLF is lifted, any of the parties that participated in the Tigrayan election. So we are waiting for the proper time, and we'll be proceeding on the fulfillment of all the requirements. We shall see what will be the result. So at least has not said publicly that they don't know us as parties. So we are functioning as parties. We are having so, and the diplomatic community has been asking them whether we are parties or not. That's why we are registered parties with temporary license.
Girmay, Betsy, or Berhe, are you guys with us?
Yes, Salamina.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to thank Girmay and everyone who's here with us, listening what the TIP stands for. Some people, contributing to the TIP or not. The names is Asbaha Lamdam, Tigist Asarfa, Johannes Walda Gabriel, Girmay Bayana, Johannes Take, Melat Tasfai, and Haragwani, and one anonymous. We are so UIP and please let's have the others to reach out, like our people and what they stand for. You share to all the people that can support. Thank you, Salamina, for hosting this.
Thank you. Berhe, anything you wanted to add?
I want to thank all those who contributed, and I guess Girmay also. Nothing much to add, actually. I just want to encourage everybody to do more. They need this finance to the works on ground. And thank you for those who already contributed. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Berhe and Betty, and also Girmay, and everyone for patiently waiting with us. Again, the link is in the chat for the fundraising. Please, if you haven't already, please continue donating and share the link also with your friends and family. Audience, Abraham, Tamara, Daniel, Taklai, if you can start, and then we'll go to our panel.
Yeah, Ismail?
Yes.
Thank you, Girmay, for joining us today, and for the meetings that you have been holding. I think that useful generally for public. I think it's important that they become a norm. I just wanted to ask you about something that I find extremely concerning, especially following the Pretoria Agreement. I think that generally everybody in Tigray, not just Tigray Independence Party, but also the TPLF and the other political parties, has misplaced priorities. And I don't know how best to make the point, because in terms of that, just assume, for instance, that somebody from Western Tigray or from Sudan, for instance, others of displaced Tigrayans in Sudan, would ask yourself if they found discussion relevant today. I would reckon that they wouldn't find it relevant, because the relevant discussion today would have been, how do you find a way of bringing normalcy into some sort of normalcy, and actually come from Western Tigray. And I think that's a perfectly respectable position to take. Maybe some other people might say that, well, actually, they don't have much of an option in the light of what they would have signed in Pretoria. But either way, they can't really demand the withdrawal of troops from Western Tigray, and they can't demand that there be independent investigation in Tigray, and they can't demand that there be more aid in Tigray, because their hands have been tied because of what they have signed, and also because of political naivety and blunt generally, which wouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. And so all political parties in Tigray, the opposition political parties, to come together and to find a way of doing the things that the TPLF is not doing, to put in place a way for conducting politics of emergency, if there's such a term, but I think sort of conveys them. But you have failed to do that. I think you have failed to see the force for the truth. You are engaged in daily, just normal politics at the moment. And actually, if someone was trying to understand the condition of Tigray by the nature of conversation, they would conclude that Tigray is actually normal. There is nothing that is seriously wrong. That is not surrounded by enemies. There are not people trying to destroy Tigray to such an extent that it wouldn't be able to get back to its feet. So I find the whole discussion about normal politics now, the power struggle in Matale, the drama to form the transitional government, absolutely laughable, generally. So my question to you, again, is a rant, I'm sorry, but my question to you, Girmay, is, do you think you have done the best things that could have possibly been done in the past 4 months? Do you think you should have focused actually on the thing that the TPLF is not doing for various reasons? Actually, we shouldn't. I mean, I don't want to go into why the TPLF, but I think we all have our own guesses as to why, and it's not really important for us to keep guessing. But do you believe that the opposition parties have actually found a way of complementing the TPLF or helping the TPLF, or at the very least doing the thing that no one is doing now? And actually, we might be appraised now in the thread. So, for instance, Anthony Blinken is to visit Ethiopia next week. There is no one from Tigray, no organized party, no civil society who is making demand for Anthony Blinken to do one thing or another. There is no one in Tigray in an organized way with a sense of conviction, a proper investigation. And if we don't do that, we might pay a huge price. So what do you think, and what do you think that is preventing from doing those things? So it was a long-winded way of saying that he should actually be doing a lot of things now, rather than focus on blaming the TPLF or the ideological discussion as well. But as fascinating as they are, I think they should wait until after we have the semblance of normalcy in Tigray. Thank you.
Thank you, Tech. We're going to go to, sorry, in the order, Abraham. Let's just unmute. Abraham, right there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Girmay. My question is very simple. Thank you for the host as well. My question is, what is the relationship that you guys have between the farmer of Tigray and your party, the party like Tigray, between the party and between the farmers? As you can see, they're very, very destroyed. And what is the relationship you guys have? And if you guys working to build that relationship that our farmer is very large population in Tigray, and what is in the healing process, or what is they really missing? Do you guys have any? If not, do you guys have any data that really we can help them, or as a diaspora that you can guys make it as the bridge that really our farmer that what you had lost all this time. So thank you so much. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll send it to unmute. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, pardon. That's to my question. Is a lot of you guys in different communities. Please continue to share the PayPal GoFundMe. Like, I know a lot of communities have a Viber or WhatsApp group, so feel free to share those links so we can get the fundraising could be more. And saying that, Girmay, thank you for taking all this time I know it's very late back home, but I just wanted to thank you. Saying that, I have one particular question. As you know, Girmay, the Tigrayan diaspora has had a big role, played a role during the UN side, becoming a diplomat, and also financially support for TDF or whatever was happening back home, and being a diplomat against two countries who had their own embassies, and also other foreign actors that was part of the genocide. So there is a big asset, in the diaspora. So how is, at the same time, there's also a growing population of nationalists within the diaspora, especially the first generation diaspora. And how is TIP trying to use this population to achieve Tigray independence? Also, to recruit or to get different kind of support. I mean, you can mention those kind of support that you're seeking from diaspora. Because I'm seeing a lot of young people. Also, of course, the older generation, but I saw younger generations. Some of them are, highly educated. I was brought and raised in Tigray, and then the kids I was born and raised in the diaspora. And I just wanted to know, what is, the plan that TIP to use this diaspora. I don't know if my question is a bit clear. And then just one more question. I don't know how is TIP going to use its own media, so you guys can broadcast to the general population. If so, when and how? Because I'm a big media advocate. That's why I wanted to plug it in. But thank you so much, Girmay. Almost 3 hours with us. Thank you. I'm done.
Awesome, thank you. Samara G, you would be next. Thank you guys so much. I know you've been waiting for a while there. Samara.
Thank you so much for the opportunity here today to address some of the questions raised. I am left basically with just one question now, because some of my questions were addressed in one way or the other. So a lot of times we have heard, particularly the TPLF supporters, that the opposition parties in general did not have policies. They are more of criticizing TPLF, talking about weaknesses of the, and sometimes insulting TPLF, so to speak. So my question to you, Girmay, is, I know all those problems that you are, all the problems you guys are facing in the ground, but my question to you is, do you think you have done enough to bring your policies, your programs, and all your policies to the people of Tigray, outside or inside? Because we're living in a community where one party has been preaching only TPLF is the blood and flesh of the people of Tigray. So it's very much attached to how close you guys are working with the people of Tigray there in the ground as well, which is already addressed earlier. So do you think you have done enough to introduce your programs, your policies to the people of Tigray in and out? Thank you.
Thank you. Mulugeta and then Gab, and we'll be done for the hand raise. Mulugeta, are you with us? Go on, mic to you, Mulugeta. Sorry, audio is not good. Can you try again? We can't hear you. Okay, until Mulugeta comes back. Audio is not good. Okay, until he fixes his mic, yep. Berhe, are you there?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Girmay, for coming here. So I just have one question. First of all, I want to say, like before, when TPLF pushed out from Mekelle, the diaspora took a huge responsibility and played the biggest game. But after the TPLF coming to Mekelle, after June 2011, the diaspora becomes destroyed and no one, protesting, no one, supporting, everything is like upside down. So Girmay, do you have like plan to be hand in hand to work with diaspora? And secondly, our females play the biggest role in the last like 2-3 years. Now they are, I believe, now they are out of the game. So do you guys have like plan to empower women? I believe they play the biggest game in the last 2, 3, 4 years, but I believe now they are not in the game, they are out of the game. So do you have plan to empower our women? Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Mulugit, are you back? Mulugita, your audio is not good. Maybe it's phone. Yeah, the audio is not good. We're just gonna maybe try without your headset. Okay, meanwhile, we'll go to. Sorry, we can't hear anything. Girmay, sorry, mic over to you, and then we'll come back to Mulugit. Sorry, quickly, Mulugit, if you're able to, if anything, ask your question in the chat. That's one way if your mic is not working. Meanwhile, Girmay, mic over to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. The first question from Tahlai is mainly about whether we are relegating important issues and focusing on issues that shouldn't be that important. Here, I beg to differ with you. For quite some time, we have been focusing on those issues, on crying out loud that ports of occupation should withdraw from Tigray, crying out loud that ports of occupation are committing heinous crimes and they need to be investigated and perpetrators should be held accountable. We have been focusing on those issues, which we may call them more of activism on behalf of our people. Still, we don't think they should be totally overlooked. But what we're saying now is we have a root cause for all this, and that is failure of the leadership. Since we are political parties, we have to focus on this. This is what we're saying now. Unless we change the way Tigray and Tagaru are being laid, such things are to continue. That's our assessment. So we are redirecting our efforts from issues that you stated are very important. I share, they are very important. But in our assessment as political parties, we need to work to correct our most important political problem, so to speak. We are focusing on uncovering weaknesses on the leadership That's why we're focusing on trying to create an organizational ability that could enable us to exert the required pressure on the leadership, so that lucky enough, if we are fortunate enough, the leadership will change course. If not, we'll be able to change the leadership even. So that's why we are focusing on the issue of the political leadership and all the other issues. I may agree with you, we can work on both. And honestly speaking, we have been doing that. But as you might understand it, if your focus is tilted towards one thing, all of the things you do will reflect the focus. So we haven't totally overlooked the plight of our internally displaced parents. We haven't overlooked the on Tigray. We have tried to have releases on this issue. So we are trying to balance, but you're right, we are focused on the issue of the political leadership in Tigray, and we think that is the most important job that political parties should do. The issue of Anthony Blinken coming and nothing being said from the parties, we have been aware about his coming very recently. We are having discussions on what to say regarding this matter. But honestly, we don't see the Americans becoming protagonists on the pain that we are facing as Tigray, as you mentioned, because of the Pretoria Accord. The Tigray leadership has kind of issue of the genocide, the territorial integrity of Tigray, and things like that. So if our own leadership has agreed, that could be apparent, to relegate these issues, we don't think they are taking them as issues of prime importance for Tigray. So there won't be much that we expect from the usual course of action that focused on trying to make the Americans believe that we are something that inflicted pain by actors that don't know. So instead, our assessment is that we need to change our leadership so that we affect. That's what I can say regarding this question. We have been advised that we have to wait until Tigray gets back to normalcy whenever we focus on changing the way Tigray is laid. But things are going from backwards instead of Tigray getting back to normalcy. So if it is to come back to normalcy or whatever, the thing that at least political parties should focus on is the way Tigray is laid. That has to change. If that doesn't change, we won't be achieving anything, so to speak. That is our feeling at this moment. The next question that I took is how is the relationship of these parties with the Tigrayan farmers? I would say the rural community in general. So far, our relationship is limited. When I say limited, in terms of an organizational relationship. From now on, we're trying to change that. We're trying to have presence at the grassroots level. We think even in the rural community, there is appetite for at least the political objective that we have raised. People have demonstrated that by paying dearly in terms of life, in terms of property, in terms of they have. So, cognizant of this, we will be working to have a meaningful relationship with the rural community of Tigray. We all know that more than 70% of the Tigrayan community lives in the rural areas. So without moving the rural community, we cannot achieve anything. So we are working on that. We will be having a better interaction with the rural community, but so far our relationship is limited. The reasons are those that I have been mentioning on several occasions, even tonight. We hope these things will change. If at least Tigray achieves a modicum of peace, it will be enough for us to start laying the groundwork which will enable us have a meaningful engagement with the rural community. The third question I have is regarding the diaspora. Some of the questions are not just questions, they are inputs to what we should do. So this question is more of a suggestion on what we should do. I take it in that light. So far, our engagement with the diaspora was limited because, as I said earlier, party politics was relegated for the past almost 2 years, because we were kind of trying to work together so that at least the onslaught of the enemies could be stopped somewhere and at some point. It looks to have stopped for a while. The way it stopped is terrible, but stop it. It looks to have stopped. So starting from that moment, we are trying to focus our effort on party politics. So one of the things that we need to consider is having a well thought about strategy on how to engage with the diaspora. So I am taking it as an input. We need to devise a strategy which will enable us to engage with the diaspora. So this strategy should start by understanding the nature of the diaspora. As the person who raised the question mentioned it, at least we have diaspora who were born in Tigray but grew up outside Tigray. We have first generation diaspora who are born in outside Tigray and grew up there. So to approach these different groups, they need to have its own way of doing things. So we need to work on this. So I take it as an input. Thank you for raising it. Regarding whether TIP has its own media or not, we are working on having our own print media. We are trying to use the social media as a platform. And regarding mainstream media, by law, we can't have electronic media. The Ethiopian law prohibits parties from having electronic media, radio as well as TV broadcast. The strategy we have is we try to work with media outlets that are established with the aim of helping Tigray achieve its vision. So we see several of them now, have a productive and positive engagement with all of them. Some of them have been helpful to them. Some of them have some issues that need to be worked. We will be picking them and we will try to work on those things. But the policy we have is engage with all the media as much as possible. That is what I have regarding the issue of media. The other question I have is whether we have done enough in terms of enabling the people of Tigray understand the policies and programs we have. Well, had we done enough, I wouldn't have faced this question. You are not the only one to raise this question. There were at least 2-3 individuals who have raised this question even tonight. So this itself tells that we haven't done enough. And this has a lot to do with the fact that we have not on party politics up until recently. From now on, we will be doing this. And I think this is what I am doing now, what my colleagues have been doing yesterday and the day before. And we'll be continuing this, I think, at least this week, vigorously. I assure you, at least we have a program. The program we have is, in our assessment, a kind of thought about program which envisions the realization of an independent national state of Tigray through a constitutional process. We hope we may return back. We do this, we shall see together to be done so that we achieve this objective. So we have a program, we have strategy documents, we also have ideological leaflets. We will be having policies and programs that emanate from this ideology. So what we're lacking is not just policy, is not just program. What we're lacking is communicating those programs and policies to the public. We will be doing that from now on in a way which is visible to you guys and all those who are concerned on this thing. But the blame that we are focusing on, I don't know, belittling the TPLF and painting it dark, that's not true as far as I'm concerned. We are focusing on the TPLF leadership as much as the fact that the TPLF leadership is deciding on every aspect. Tigrayans, we understand that this is the main reason that we have succumbed into the situation that we're in. So on this slide, we will be working, in fact, much more vigorously with a view to elicit the caveats in the TPLF leadership, the results of this erroneous leadership that we'll be doing. And we hope doing this will enable the public to understand that the way Tigray is being led needs to be changed. Once we reach there, there will be a possibility to change Tigray leadership. That is the most significant achievement for our people. So we will be working more on this. We will focus on the Tigray leadership. We will keep on kind of shedding light on the problems that are being generated from the ways this leadership is leading Tigray. That will be doing even in the future. But when we do it, we will try to be civilized. When we do it, we will try to minimize the possibility of going this thing astray and becoming counterproductive. On that score, all those columns that you are raising will be helpful, but I assure you we will not stop our adamance on the TPLF leadership. We have to do that. At least the three parties need to do as parties if Tigray is going to have a different and hopefully better future. The other question I received is from Berhe. The Diaspora has been working in unison and in a way that has been visible and active before the return of TPLF from the bushes to Mekelle. We decline in that spirit. That is, I think, his assessment. This assessment. We share this assessment. This situation does not only regard the diaspora, but even at home, a similar pattern was observed. Before the return of the TPLF from the bushes to Mekelle, people were improvising on their own and doing magic in helping the armed struggle and enabling the armed struggle to reach the level that it in a time of just the Tigrayans were able to dislodge the most significant chunk of the Tigrayan territory. That was possible because people at least had the freedom to improvise on their own, to act on their own, given the objective that they have deep down in their heart. But starting from the return of the TPLF leadership to Mekelle, what we saw was not a leadership that maximized this asset that the public showed. Instead, leadership focused on who the right side, who was on the left side, and what's right is being judged by the TPLF leadership, what is wrong is judged by the TPLF leadership alone. So that itself has done some harm. Even we understand is on the diaspora, but now our understanding is the diaspora needs to be vocal on the objective of the struggle of the Tigrayan people. The objective needs to be clearly stated, and that objective should be communicated to all. So far, the TPLF leadership was dampening this quest for a loud and visible expression of the objective of the Tigrayan struggle. So now we feel the diaspora needs of this. Let go is the so-called objective of ensuring our existence. That's a mission, as we all understand. Any people in the world take this as a mission. We don't think there are people completely secured their existence. A threat to its existence that emanated from terrorism in early, at the advent of the 21st century. Even now, they have what they call a danger on their existence. So any people take ensuring their existence as a mission. But to ensure this mission, there are objectives that we need to have. Based on this objective or objectives, we can have a strategy which will enable us achieve the objective. So achieving objectives over a span of successive time periods could be the way to ensure existing as a people. So now we call upon everyone to come to the Tigrayan objective, which is clear at this time. In our assessment, the people of Tigray are done with Ethiopia. The people of Tigray are demanding their own state. So we all have to state this clearly. Once we state this clearly, if we all agree on this objective, we are going to have a unity based on objective. Not the way TPLF tells us every now and come together, we have to have unity. Because we preach unity based on objective. So we need to have a clear political objective, and that objective should be realizing an independent state of Tigray. Objective, the diaspora, as well as the Tigrayan community at home, should work together. Political parties have a role of coming up with a strategy based on this objective. That's what we are trying to do. We hope we'll be communicating this strategy. So then we have to proceed forward. The role of the TPLF so far has been divided. So far, there's no change on that score. Change that. But a strong leverage on the leadership we'll be able to achieve this. So this is the way to do it. The other thing, right, we have a plan to import this a little while ago, and I reflected on it. We don't have a clear plan as such, but we have the commitment. Probably have women in membership. We are working to change that. Once we have them full of membership, we will be able to devise a plan moving forward in the leadership echelon. So now our plan is to mobilize as much Tigrayans as possible to the cause of independence. Here we are working without any distinction whether the Tigrayan is of the female gender or of whatever this religion or that. We are working to mobilize as possible the Tigrayan public towards the cause of independence. We will be focusing on solving the special obstacles we have regards to this. So hopefully we will have there. It won't be pretty tough to bring them. I think those are the issues raised. I think I have reflected on all of them. Still, if you want me, I'm here. It's let me return the mic to you, Sana.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Girmay. I do have, just I guess wrapping up, Mulgeta, are you back? Is your mic working now? See if you can unmute and come to mic.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, yeah. Better.
All right. Thank you most. I would like to appreciate Brother Girmay. We are so proud of you and it's good to hear your voice. And I think most of my questions have been answered, but I would like to say my own personal opinion. Maybe if it's different than Tip's decision, maybe you can just turn it off. In order to explain my full mind, I would like to speak in my own language. Thank you. فالله جرماي خبرتي أبلا نقول لكم تقارنكم كل عبيد مرجانية أنا علي I'm here, babe. I'm here. So,
yes, I think someone was unmuted. If everyone can mute. Go ahead.
في الله زحلف كلتا سومن حنت سحب تسعيد قرح وحيزوي مكي إلى زين نيريف مخنياتهم كفت ناي جزيوي ترشل منغسي إن حردا بالبرنسبل زي أتيخم it's a principle جن كاب تي أتيخم ترخبوا ديو مورن حزب تግራይ ይጠቀም ወይስ ብዘይ ምእታውኩም እዩ ህዝብ ትግራይ ይጠቀም እዚ ሓሰውላሞ ባዕልትኩም መልስ ሃውላ ከላይ ኣብ ዲያስፖራ ብዙሕ ሰብ ክሕግዘኩም እዩ I think a couple of weeks ago Miss Dr. Ben email ተለዋዊጠ ነይረ we can arrange ዳንኤል ሓዊ ኩሉ ይብዝሎ we can arrange a media platform ናኻትኩም ምክንያቱም እዚ ሕብረተሰብ ናታትኩም ድምፂ ክሰምዕ ይደሊ እዩ ኣብ ሚድያ ትግራይ ኮይንኩም ኣው ኮይንኩም ትዛረቡ ሓሳብ ተወሰነ ሓሳብ ስለ ዝኾነ እንድሕር ዳ ናብ ሚድያ ትቐርቡ ክኢልኩም ግን ዋላ ደድቢት ሚድያ ሃይለ ኩለይ ንዑ እዩ ኣክሱማውያን ሚድያ ፕሮፌሰር ጌታቸው ብተፈላለየ መንገድ ናብ ሚድያ ውፅሞ እዚ ቢዩቲፉል ዝኾነ ብቃት ዝወፀ ህዝቢ ትግራይ beside you, behind you, we can. الذي قال حنتي كومن كذا المرعى منالوات ኣብዚ ናይ ኮሚኒኬሽን ዶክተር ቴድሮስ ዝመርሖ ይልካ የለኻ ግን ክትወፁ ከለኹም ኣብ ሚድያ ክትቀርቡ ከለኹም ኣየኑ እዩ ዝዝረብ ኣየኑ ዘይዝረብ ብዓሽ ኩለይ ከም ዘለዎ ተጠንቀቑ። ምክንያቱም ዝሓለፈ ግዜ ኣብ ጆስ ፐርሰናል ክኸውን ይኽእል እዩ ዝሃቦ ኢንተርቪው ስቱድዮ ቀሪቡ ዝሃባ ተጋደልቲ ተረሽኖም ዝተባሃለ ብዙሕ ቅሬታ ፈጢራ እያ ነቲ ደጋፊኹም ማለት እያ ናይ ስለዚ ኣብዚ ብደንብ ተፀኒዑ ክዝረቡ ይዝረቡ ክወሃብ ዝግብኦ መልሲ if you don't have to give an just pass it by ምክንያቱም ህልውና ናይቲ ውድብ ብንእሽተይ ነገር ናይ ግለሰብ ስሕተት ንኸይሃስስ ዘለና ባህጊ እዩ ካብኡ ዝተረፈ the end night we love to support you we love to be helpful in any possible way ግን ጨንፈር ክስፍሩ ኣብ ካናዳ ሕዝንና ሰብ ይብልናን ምናልባት ኣብ ደገ ኩለይ ብዙሕ እንፈልጦ ኣምታት የለን ሕዚ ግን ትመሓውኩም ኣፍሉጥና just ህዝቢ ይፅበየኩም ኣሎ this is make it or break it ንዓና ድማ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣብ ሰዓት እዚ ኣብ ፅቡቕቲ ግዜ ዝመፅእኹም ውድባት ኢኹም ንስኻትኩም we need freedom ስለዚ just take the opportunity ተጠቐሙሉ ህዝቢ ከዓ ክሰምዐኩም ይብህግ ኣሎ just we are proud of you ብጣዕሚ ሕጉሳት ኢና ይኽእነሊ ዝማተይ thank you
awesome thank you Maru Masfin Rada Adlaha Masfin
yes hello
yeah go ahead
can you hear me
yes I can
okay thank you very much let me begin by thanking Girmay for everything that he does for Tigray and for coming here today to tell us about his party and what he's doing for Tigray. My question, I have two questions basically. I will try to be very, very brief. The first one is, I think, an extension of a question that was asked earlier. It is really nice for you to articulate your platform, your vision, and your ideologies. That's really nice. But I don't think at this point, not that it's not important, but I don't think it is a priority for us to discuss, ideologies. Do we seek to go this way, or do we go through, what we've been going through in revolutionary democracy, or whatever? I'm not saying that that's not important, but I think it's a matter of priorities. What I see, I think, or what I hear today in Tigray is a continuation of the genocide through different means. We are seeing, or at least hearing from different, in different ways, that the youth is probably losing hope about whether there will be a change, that would accommodate their needs. Whether TPLF as a party is capable of navigating through all this, and as a result, quite a considerable portion of our youth have actually or are contemplating migrating out of Tigray. I think this is a very, very concerning issue that I'm currently hearing, and I think the future of Tigray depends on its youth. So, as a party, as a result of this fallout, what is it that you're actually doing to engage our youth? For them not to actually consider leaving Tigray for good, and perhaps leaving Tigray, defenseless as well. I think these are things. I do believe that this is one of the things that should be given the top priority, and this is something I think we should be working on. You probably are, but I would love to to hear more about it if you're actually doing that one. Number one. The second thing is, I think this is my view. I think of today's TPLF as an opportunist party, right?
come every Lakatit, it plays patriotic songs, and then it gets to claim everything that was good in TPLF, right? I see the TPLF that went, the TPLF that existed in the past, the TPLF that defeated the Derg, the TPLF, that had Amora and Qashqabru in its ranks. It's entirely different from the TPLF that we have today, right? But TPLF has been able to, to blur this line, right, among the public, such that the public views them, in a way that's not different, that they would see Hayyalam or that they would see, that they would see Amora. What is it that you're actually doing, to undo this thing at a grassroots level, right? If Amora and Qashqabru were alive today, right, that they would be, not TPLF, but they would be members of the TIP, actually doing on the ground to convince people that you have the ideas that this bill actually had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Masfin. I have 2 questions to summarize, and I'll ask you, and then we can end. That would be the last one. It's very, very late, and hopefully we've gotten to everyone. Any messages following? We do have a you guys can attend those to ask if you have any more or any further questions. But the last question that we have today, Girmay, is little happens in Africa without the Americans letting it happen. If anything, if something they don't want happens, it's because they're not paying attention or they don't care. So what would CIP strategy to avoid what Washington would consider a movement against their interests? What do you say your end goal is when you talk to American diplomats? What assurance do you give them that Tigray's independence will not cause a further instability or any outcome that will harm their interest? Do you have a broader border strategy for the region, given Tigray's independence will have cross-border consequences? And then the last one is similar issues that was raised in response to your reasons for not participating in the IRA. So what would you say to the victims of the gender-based violence, to the millions of displaced people and can't return home, to the mothers who can't feed their children, who are waiting for someone to speak for them on their behalf at the IRA, the interim the transitional government, irrelevant of the change that you can affect from within? Why not be a voice for them? And when decisions are made that are against their interest, you can say, I was there and I spoke for you. And to be able to speak for them, being within and part of this transitional government would be something that you would be able to do more effectively than being outside of this transitional government, is the last point that I have. Girmay, hopefully you catch all of it. You're still with us?
Yeah, I was reading this question actually on the next messages. All right, should I start with the issue of the transitional government? It is popping up almost in every chapter of Q&A.
Right. If you're looking at the chat, sorry, Girmay, quickly. You're looking at the chat. There is a justice be the center of your political goal. Is one more to add to the question.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
As I said, I should start with the issue of the transitional government. It's a difference of kind of assessing possibilities. In our assessment, if it is the TPLF leadership which pulls the strings, whether somebody joins or not doesn't change anything. That's our assessment. So the way the transitional government is being set up is a way which ensures it is the TPLF leadership which pulls the strings. So we want that to change. That's what we're saying. Unless that changes, because somebody joined in there won't be anything better that will come to our people. So it is based on this assessment of ours that we say we don't care much on who sits in the transitional government cabinet. What mattered for us was the way the transitional government was set up. We wanted a process which ensured the participation of all sections of the Tigrayan society. When I say all, as much as possible. So if we say political parties are major stakeholders, all of them should have been represented. We say political parties need to be considered. If we say Tigrayan scholars are important stakeholders, they should have been represented in a proper manner. They were not represented. We say they are important. They should be represented in a manner which ensures their acquiescence, at least. If we say the army should be engaged in the process of setting up the transitional government, there are different views here. Some of us say the army shouldn't participate directly per se in the transitional government. There are some of us who say it should participate in the transitional government. Leaving that aside, if the army is to participate, it should have been represented in a way which at least ensures the acquiescence of the army. We didn't see this. Because we didn't see this, we feel there is no change in the way the Tigrayan leadership was acting. If that doesn't change, it's our assessment that whether TIP joins or not doesn't make any difference. Whether Baitona joins or not, whether Axumawian joins or not, whether somebody whom the TPLF leadership says represents the Tigrayan intelligentsia participates or not, doesn't make a difference. That's our assessment. Some people differ as regards this assessment. We respect that. They're entitled to their opinions. But what matters to us is whether people understand why we don't want to join transitional government, which is being set up. We don't join it because the process that brought about this transitional government is the same process that brought about war on Tigray, the culmination of this war on the Pretoria Accord. We don't think these things are good to the people of Tigray. We need these things shouldn't have come in the first place. So we want to see a process which at least assures us that there won't be a recurrence of all those mishaps that we've been through, at least in the past 2-3 years. So because we haven't seen this, we opted to decline the offer of joining the transitional government. We are ready to join if there is a process which ensures a proper room for our ideas, for our qualms, and for our reservations. We haven't seen this so far, so we better work on ways that will bring about a process that will allow at least most Tigrayans to have a say as regards at least the nation of Tigray itself. Ideology and things that are below our national existence left aside. So that's why we say no to joining a transitional government, which is basically a TPLF-led government. It is a TPLF-led government that brought about all those things that have befallen Tigray. Most of them are things that we wish never happened on us. So we feel any government under any name, if it is to be led by a sheer TPLF dominance, the result will not be something good for Tigray. So we don't want to join hands there and contribute to trying to use media as much as we can. As I said earlier, some of the media are helpful to our cause. So we appreciate that, and we are working with them seriously. Some media appear to have issues which are not okay with us. So we prefer at least not to meddle on their progress. So we hope they will progress toward becoming a good media. By then, we'll be working with them. So some of the calls from some media outlets, in our view, are not genuine and helpful to our cause. So we're just watching them. We hope through time they will be helpful to our cause. By then, we'll be glad to work with them. As regards the way we approach media, in some of our media engagements, there appears to be a backlash to our cause, specifically Dr. Dejan's interview with J Studio is raised here. In that interview, Dr. Dejan mentioned the fact that some TDF members were kind of brought into a concentration camp, and they were kept there for a long time. And during that, they had several problems in relation to food and shelter. So these TDF members demanded an immediate decision that allows them either to join their units in the TDF or that allows them to return back home. There were some altercations there, and the altercation ended up sadly in the loss of life of those gallant TDF members. So Dejan stated this on that media. Dejan was there on a personal mission in search of one of his two sons who are in the TDF. He was not able to get information regarding his first son for a long time. So he was tipped that he could be in the area. So he went to see his son. Unfortunately, he was not able to meet him. The information turned out that it was just a namesake, not Dejan's son. So on his personal mission there, he got this information, and upon his return to Makhala, he decided to make this public. In our view, making attacks on our gallant TDF members is one thing that we should do. We have to make that public. We have to make our people aware of this so that these things will stop and corrective measures could be taken. There were some instances that were coming to us from different angles. What we used to do was consolidate this, write it up, and present it to the relevant leadership. But on this occasion, what Dejan did was taking this one step higher. We don't think that was bad. Rather, we think it was something proper. And as it turned out, so far the assessments done appear to show that there was that altercation, there was loss of life. So we hope this will be taken to its proper end. So the investigation will be carried out. That's our hope, and we shall come to know who were the perpetrators. So far, we are having a lot of we're having much information, which is helpful in helping this investigation. So we hope we will come to know exactly happened and who did what as regards to this matter. So Dejan's role is in our assessment. I don't see anything bad as regards that. The way it should have been done, there could be suggestions as regards how it could have been done. We are ready to learn from that, and already we have taken lessons, and those lessons will be helpful to us. The other issues raised were regarding ideology. It was a suggestion that we should not dwell on ideologies at this time. We don't have that luxury. I share that. We don't have the luxury of taking time to get into the superfluities of ideological lineups and issues related to that. I don't think we are doing that as a party. We are focusing on the need to galvanize our people, work, having the proper leadership. That to exist, it needs to have an independent, sovereign national state. So far, the unfortunate occurrence we had as people is anytime the people of Tigray rise, they rise for the Tigray nation. They have shown that they can pay anything towards the realization of that dream. But the leadership they had has never been nationalist per se. So I agree that TPLF leadership, an opportunist leadership, they were audacious enough to state it on several occasions that they raised the issue of Tigray nationalism as a means. And they have been clearly stating on repeated occasions that they were pretty Marxist-Leninist, and they were struggling for of the oppressed classes. At the communists say every now and then. That's pretty unfortunate. Even now, the TPLF leadership was audacious enough to state that they have not been separatists while they were leading a clearly separatist army that was created by a huge popular mobilization towards that goal. You guys might remember Yadacho Reda saying on BBC Hard Talk that the Tigray leadership has but the Tigray significant majority were fighting and paying dearly to realize, right? So the unfortunate thing that the people of Tigray faced for is they never realized a truly, genuinely nationalist leadership. It's our view that we're trying to fill this gap. We might have lots of limitations and shortcomings, but at least we have picked the intergenerational dream of realizing a complete independence by the Tigrayan people as a prime objective. Initially, TIP, but for quite some time now, even Nationalist Party come to this objective. So at least we have come towards getting a truly nationalist leadership to the people of Tigray. That's in the making, but at least we have clearly and unequivocally stated we would like to lead our people towards this objective. So the nucleus for the development of a truly nationalist leadership and organization, we hope we are going to have this in a pretty short period of time. That's our role. And I agree, we have to focus on what happened to Tigray. What happened to Tigray is a genocide. We are fortunate that the Tigrayan leadership has decided not to work on this, but we have picked it as one of the major political objectives that we'll be working together on. So still we have it as an issue of prime importance, working on the issue of the Tigray genocide so that it shall be recognized so in the world, so editors will become accountable for what they did. So on it. So we have it as our grand political objective on it. So far, that might to the expectation of our people, but we will be improving on this, and we'll be at least help your explain your reduce your columns at least. Regarding the Tigrayan youth, it is sad that the gallant Tigrayan youth who paid extremely preciously the Tigrayan cause have come to see their dream of an independent being relegated, and because of this, quite a lot of them have up, and quite a significant of them have started to trek outside Tigray. That's very sad, but we hope if we manage to come up with a strong, visible organization that will ensure, at least will be working toward achieving their dream of an independent Tigray, the tide will be reversed, and we're sure the Tigrayan youth, wherever they go, will not let go, working on realizing their dream. So what we're doing now is expediting the process of becoming a real alternative political organization so that they will be joining us and working toward achieving their dream of an independent Tigray. As regards the issue of the important role that America plays, we are aware of that. We had limited encounter with the Americans. At least we had a meeting with the American ambassador to Ethiopia during the occupation of Tigray by the forces of occupation. We also had meetings with section heads of the embassy. What we tell them is mainly one thing: it's not possible to realize a peaceful, stable, and progressing Ethiopia without answering the Tigrayan question. So far in our encounters, we understand they're not against self-determination, at least head-on, because it is one of the values that they spread all over the world. I think we are aware of the role of President Woodrow Wilson in relation to the issue of self-determination. So they're not against self-determination, at least head-on. We understand they give priority to their national interest, and that is proper. We don't have any problem as regards that. What we tell them is, at least an independent Tigray will not be against the interest of America in this region. But this is just a preliminary encounter. We understand we have to work in much more detail and in more frequently. I don't say we have had several encounters with them, but given the ideology that we are picking, given the fact that the Tigrayan value systems and ambitions are not in contravention to the American interest, we don't think the Americans will be against the quest for self-determination of Tigray. So far, we see they prioritize on maintaining the territorial integrity of Ethiopia, let alone the government of America, which is responsible at the global scale. Any government will work for the maintenance of the territorial integrity of a nation, wherever it is. So we understand that. But given the situation that is developing in Ethiopia, if we work in much more strength and with full wisdom, we feel they can understand at least why we are calling for a complete self-determination. So if we achieve this, we don't think it will be very difficult to make them believe that an independent Tigray will not be an obstacle to their national interest in this region. So what we need to do is we need to work in a concerted, wise, and strategy-based approach. I don't say we have it now, but we're trying to have it. So so far, almost nothing has been done in trying to convince the Americans that trampling the quest of self-determination by Tigray will be counterproductive, not only to their broader interest in this region, but even to the peace and stability of the Horn of Africa. We feel they are susceptible to this. So starting from this, we can build on it. So this is what I can say. An independent Tigray may have a regional kind of conflagration to bring about if the territorial issue is not handled properly and wisely. What I can say is at least TIP is not vocal as regards territorial claims here and there. We don't have much of irredentism as a party, so we're trying to sail this through. So if we go along this path, I don't think the issue of territory will be so much of a nuisance that will shock the Americans and make them stand against our quest for self-determination. So what matters is whether our self-determination is guided by liberal values and principles. We're trying to shape it along that line. What matters is whether we'll be responsible actors in this region. We're trying to shape our move along that line. What matters is whether we let go with TPLF's backlog of illiberal leftist tendencies, personalities, and emblems. We are trying to shape it along that way. So starting from this, if we proceed wisely and with a well thought out strategy, we feel we can convince them at least to accept Tigray needs to have the right to exercise its self-determination. That is what I have on my list of questions. I hope I have reflected on all of them. If there are issues which are important and I haven't reflected upon, Salamina will help me. Back to you, Salamina.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a lot of questions to answer, Girmay. We are done for questions today. I want to see over any of the mods. If you guys have anything to add or any comments to make, please do, and then I will quickly do closing remarks, or if there's anything else that you wanted to add, Girmay, before we close up. Mods, anyone have any comments?
Salamina, maybe I can add something here in regards to the ongoing fundraising to support TIP initiatives. ያው ትግርኛ ክገብሮ መንታን ኩሉ ክሰምዖ ከም ተጋሩ ፍላይ ናይ ሕዚ ትውልዲ ኣባላት እቲ ናይ ፖለቲካ ስፊር ክሰፍሕ ኢንክሉሲቭ ክኸውን ብፍላይ ከዓ ባህግታትና ዝቕረፀሉ ኢንቫይሮንመንት ክፍጠር ብጣዕሚ ናታትና ተሳትፎ ኣገዳሲ ስለ ዝኾነ ኣብዚ ፋይናንስ እንገብሮ ፃዕሪ አይ ቲንክ ብዝኸኣልናዮ ኩሉ ክንሕግዝ እየ ዝፅውዕ ናትና ሓላፍነት ስለ ዝኾነ ማለት እዩ ይቐኒለይ ስለዚ ዶኔት ምግባር ይትረስዑ
Thank you. Betty or Berhe, anyone else?
Okay, I just want to say, sorry, Salami. Thank you to Girmay especially. This is a very long discussion and it's very late in Maqala, we understand. This is a big sacrifice. You have a meeting tomorrow to attend to. We really appreciate. I want to also emphasize on the message of contributions to TIP. It is very important they have the finances to do the groundwork. So I will encourage everybody not only to contribute but share the link. The link is on all the social media platforms and share it with friends and family so that we can reach as many as possible. Thank you, everybody who coordinated this meeting also. Thank you, Salamina, especially to you.
Thank you, Berhe. Yeah, so if you don't have, Girmay, is there any last comments that you wanted to add? If not, I will do a closing remark and we could end the meeting.
All right, as a closing remark, I appreciate what the diaspora has been doing throughout the so-called period of Makata. You guys did a remarkable job in terms of becoming the voice of the Tigrayan people. You guys have achieved a lot. Some of your achievements are being eroded because of mainly the leadership we have. But now we have to work together and restore those achievements that you have had so far. Just to mention, thanks to your concerted effort and relentless struggle, Tigray was able to achieve the establishment of an independent commission that was entrusted with the investigation of the genocide in Tigray. We see now the Ethiopian government is working vigorously to inhibit that commission before it starts the investigation. On the part of the Tigrayan leadership, there looks to be an acquiescence to that, because the agreement they signed in Pretoria partly forces them to acquiesce to that. But if they were wise enough, there were ways to circumvent this and help on the work of achieving that independent investigation. So I call upon you guys to continue work along this line. We will also be helping as much as we can. Not only that, I am confident that the Tigrayan diaspora will pick the issue of a complete self-determination for Tigray and rise again in the way that we saw in the past more than 2 years of Makata. So I call upon you guys to get back to that spirit. I see a little bit of I don't know, decline spirit and action. So we need to come back to that as much as possible. I appreciate what you have been doing to our party. We were able to come to you and solicit for funds in the middle of the Makata years. That fund has enabled us at least to maintain the offices that are running in Magala, Wukro, Abdigrat, and Maijau. That fund has enabled us at least to maintain the TIP leadership and do what we've been doing so far. So I would like to thank all those members of the diaspora community who contributed in that fund mobilizing endeavor of ours. Now again, for a second time, we are trying to solicit fund from you guys, hoping that you will help as much as you can. And what you have achieved so far is very encouraging as far as we are concerned. We understand the burden that you guys are going through. It's thanks to your contribution that the people of Tigray, those who are alive today, are alive, not because of the allotments of aid, which were given not for more than 2 rounds, and even those 2 rounds were not full. So those Tigrayans who are alive now are alive directly or indirectly thanks to the contribution that you, Tigrayan diaspora, have been contributing so far. I would like to appreciate and thank you for that. I am confident that the target you set may not be easy. $50,000 may not be easy, but I hope you will achieve it if we proceed in the way that you guys have been doing up until today. I hope things will continue in a manner which will help us achieve this. And I also appreciate all those who have participated in this question and comment sessions. All the questions were questions that we want to be raised so that we reflect upon them and be able to at least make people aware of what we have done so far, what we think should be done in Tigray, what Tigray should be kind of laid through. It was a golden opportunity for us that you guys have arranged. So I would like to appreciate all of you for this. So let's keep on doing this, and I hope we'll be able to create the required leadership and organization which will help us in our quest toward realizing an independent state of Tigray. What we have been doing in the past 2-3 days, and we will be doing this week, I guess, will be a step in that direction. You will come up with what you have stated as an objective during this time. Even if you don't reach that, money that you could mobilize will be more than enough for us to kickstart the process that we want to kickstart. We can do it all the way through. What matters is maintaining the contact that we have, maintaining the work that we have started together. Hopefully this will continue, and hopefully we'll be able to have organizational presence in at least most of the countries that have a significant presence of the Tigrayan diaspora. Having said this in English, I would like also to say a few sentences in Tigrinya, if you allow me, Salamina.
Yes, please go ahead.
بتعم صبو لو مشيت زنار الناس أنا حيت أبزت زي وداي مرز ولا دكاس بزح وداي كونن نزخالكم مثلا قلت راح أخي واسل زلوا أو خيدا زي مسل قلت كاوزري إلى يوزي زبارسو زلهم كحزي تجارب دياسبورا زقولكم ونقرب بتعم بزح بتعم عويو إن شاء الله هم تزترف هزبهم تعرفوا الله إن شاء الله هم تقرأ عالم at least many أبي يا تفلت غيركم اللهم هاي تدلي أبزول كفلت المجوار كنتو تدخلوا ويكركم من سكبنا تاسكم يكونن مرة رحيو السوتا عريو الحرازي تقرأ زول على كفلت المجوار وإذا شرحكم تصرحوا أخذنا مسكين فتينا هنا زون خلهم كمسكينكم يد غاز غور وزلهم كبن زقبروا خيني رخيبيو تعرف حقوسين لو مشيت مسحهم بممسايل بتوع متكم وزلهم ناي $50,000 تارجت كم توصلوا تستفاي قبر سكازلو كايدا نوزر إيو بس إحنا يصبوا أي بس إحنا ينتزاكوا ونكلي تستاكوا ونكلي جنزب يكونن بو بيلكا تنحسوا زلنا أنا ودو محاول من كسقاس حزبنا وريدكا مرخاب بو بيلكا حزبنا لواتون شقماتون حماماتون مسمع مفتاح تراي زوريانا عسيلو مسانا تسلو بقدامنت تزولو مريحنت نخري ناب حطو هاجرنا تقراي نخا عسل مقبار كنتف እዚ ምዃን ተኣብዩ ድማ ተቕሊሉ ኣብ ጉዳይ ሃገርነት ምስ ዝዓሰለ መሪሕነት ኮይኑ እዚ ናይ ወለዶታት ሕልሙ ዘግህድ ቃልሲ ንክገብር ዝኣክል እዩ ኢና ንኣምን እዚ ሕዚ ጀሚርናዮ ዘለና ነገር ዝያዳ እናሰፍሐ እናጠንከረ ይህን እናተባሃልና ፀገማትና እናነገርኩምና እናዕረና እናነገርኩምና እናካተትና ክንከይድ ድሌት በዓል ተስፋዬ ሎም ምሸት ንዝነበረና ፀንሒት ንኩልኩም ኣትኩምኒ ርእቶ ዝሃብኩምኒ ሓሳባት ዘለዓልኩም ብምሉኹም ዘለኒ ናእዳን ኣኽብሮትን ምስጋናን ክገልጽ ይደሊ ተስፋ ይገብር እዚ ከም ዝቕፅል ብኦ ቢልና ድማ እቲ ንደልዮ ከም እንበፅሖ ብጣዕሚ እየ ዘመስግነኩም ብጣዕሚ እየ ዝፈትወኩም የቐኒየለይ ለይትን ዝምልከተኩም ብሩኽ መዓልትን ዝምልከተኩም የቐኒየለይ
All right, as we come to an end of express my sincere thank you to everyone who joined us and participated in this Q&A session. We appreciate your patience and engagement. I would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to everyone that has donated. We encourage you to continue to support by donating and also sharing the link with your friends and family. And everyone, there will be another town hall meeting tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time with Mahari Yohannes, another member of MUNAT. We hope to see you all there for another informative session. So for anyone that missed questions or if you have any more questions, you have time tomorrow. I also want to our guest Girmay for joining us today and answering all the questions. Your responses were insightful and perspectives have been incredibly valuable. And we look forward to continuing to hold these sessions for better connect with the diaspora and to create awareness and better clarity with that. And this meeting is also being streamed on Axumawian media, and once it's uploaded, you can catch up if there's any parts that you've missed, and also share the links with others to spread the message. Again, I want to thank your time and support. If you guys don't have anything else to say, have a great day, everyone, and see you guys tomorrow.
Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Recording stopped.